Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Learning to Live. We have a very, very special episode today. Rashida and I are both pumped. We have Darrell Harris here to talk with us about mentorship and just kind of thriving in life. It's a great opportunity to have him here. Darrell spent 25 years coaching high school football and youth football and just mentoring many people. He's a successful sales and marketer and has just been living a good strong life and inspiring others. And he inspired me. We connected on LinkedIn, and just he hit my heart with his forthrightness and his straightforwardness, and it's just a blessing to have him on. So welcome, Darrell.
Welcome, Darrell.
Thank you. I'm honored. Thank you. A beautiful introduction. Thank you both. Appreciate it. It was interesting. I'm a name person. I love the names. I believe, I can go across the country and pretty much kind of nail the personality of Dustin's.
That's awesome.
And Rashida, your name, you know what your name means, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dustin, you know what your name means as well?
I believe, so I've heard multiple things. The one that sticks, the one that I want is the valiant fighter. But
right.
I'm not.
Yeah, they say your name is made up of two elements, Thor and stone, so that's a good one too.
Oh wow!
So you get the brave fighter, the valiant fighter, and Rashida, of course, the wise one who knows her own
wise
way.
one, yes.
Yeah, righteous.
Righteous, and also the one who is guided and also guides.
Oh yeah, had to put that guide part.
Yeah.
That's the wise, the wisdom.
Yeah. I actually chose my name. My parents gave me a different name, so I was looking for direction in my life at that point. So that's the name of God that you recite, right? So God guide me. So we say Ya Rashid, right? Ya Rashid is the name of God. So then I chose that name for that purpose because I was a little bit lost,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very great. That's interesting. And even when I visit in people's homes, I try and get the meaning of their name, and I ask them what their name means, because my name has meant a lot to me when I found out what it meant.
Oh.
What does Darrell mean?
Darrell means beloved. It has the same meaning as the word David.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So it's always meant a lot. I prefer my middle name better, which is Anthony, which is praiseworthy.
Well, you're both.
Yeah, well, Dustin could not stop about you when you guys exchanged your emails. Like, oh, this guy, he's so awesome.
Made me cry.
So you are.
Listen, you should say that louder so my wife hears it and she can actually, keep on a little bit. But it's kind of like we were talking about earlier. These are things that, if you're aware of just the smallest things, I think even in life, you're given these little hints as to this is important. Even when you're 8 years old, know when something is important, or within yourself. But I was always the type of kid that would get paralyzed by not knowing. Like, I would be in my room for days, just, why do they not like me? And it would just, you know what I mean? Or why are these, why did I think this way? Even that, it was just, as a little kid, I was just really contemplative before. And I always tried to play things out in my mind, which has turned into a detriment on a lot of issues. But I always had this ability to play things out in my mind, the scenarios that, of course, favorable to me. I always had the ability of playing, scenarios out in my mind. So when things did happen, I always had an idea of the way I would react.
And that favorable to you, that's actually a great move. That's how life should be filtered, I believe, is that the positive outcomes, because a lot of what we think does become our destiny.
Not a lot. All of it.
All of it. Okay, all of it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's
You know,
I was
people
being
see, there's a
conservative,
part
but
of it that you
I
forget.
speed more your way.
Most people forget what they might have said 10 years ago, what you might have been emotionally feeling at some point in your life where you thought you really wanted something, and 5 years later it shows up and you're like, I don't recall wanting this, you know, and it's typically something you've already asked for, but you know, we think and want so many things, you know.
Yeah, no, that's I love that you use that you you know, identified our name. That really hits people, I think, in the heart. You know, our names are so important and we just brush by them, but there is a deep interconnection, and there's a reason we're called what we're called.
It's funny because I teach my guys, and when I teach my guys in classroom setting and office setting, I try and make it memorable so they'll remember what they learned and the day they learned it, and what the meaning of what they learned was. So I usually go through this exercise with names, and I give them the example of when, so for instance, when you say when someone says your name, it releases endorphins in you. Just by, if I can get someone to look up, if I get you to look up, it releases endorphins. And if I can get you to look up and then talk about your children, oh, you have children? How many children do you have? And get those endorphins released, then every time you look at me, you're releasing endorphins and I become your dope man. So and that's the way you connect with people. You connect with people. People don't care what you want from them until you understand who they are. And that's the gist of what you have to teach people, is that people don't care that you have bills to pay. They care that you care about them first. And when you can care about them first, then essentially anything you could possibly want to help benefit them is just easier to attain.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
And you're always telling me that. You know, almost exactly.
Yeah.
Interact with people, acknowledge them.
Yeah. I always, every time I'm buying something from the store, or if there's a cashier, I make sure I read their name, and then as I'm leaving, I say, you know, thank you, Melissa, thank you, Jonathan. So that always, like, and then people, as you said, like their eyes just widen up and they're like, oh, thank you for coming. So I
and they remember, as soon as she walks in, they see her from a mile away. Oh, there's Rashida.
They come to me.
It makes a difference. I mean, so when I was in North Carolina, you guys ever heard of a meat man?
I haven't. No. I'm not from here, as you can tell from my accent.
A meat man. No, like, are the guys that drive the trucks door to door and sell the meat?
That's right.
Is that it?
Like the
I loved those guys when I was a kid.
Yeah, we were a little more lower level than the Swans guy. So we had a pickup with a freezer on the back. Okay. And so, like I said, you know, everything that happens for a reason. You're in a place for a reason. And it was just after 9/11. I was actually rejected from going into the Navy. That's another story within itself. But I wanted to give back. I wanted to do something to be a part of that. So I wound up in North Carolina. I went down and was selling cars in New Jersey, doing very well. But I wanted a change of scenery. You know, I'm just getting clean, wanted to do something different with my life. And so I moved to Carolina, went down just to do the job search and, you know, find out what's going on. And I wind up answering an ad that was sort of work today, get paid today. And so the funniest thing is I went there and it was this guy. He's another story, Mark. He's another story. But I went there and they were selling meat, out of the back of a truck in a pickup. They had it in cases, you know, a restaurant with beautiful packaging, you know. And they put me with a guy I'll never forget. His name was DC David. And the meat business really taught me how to sort of feel my way through people. Because it's such a personal thing to sell someone food. And we were during the time when the soldiers were overseas. I was in the Fayetteville area, so soldiers were in Iraq and Afghanistan. And it was amazing to be able to go to a family and, you know, give a hug or pray for someone at the door, you know, for the worst circumstances. And I just felt like I was being put in those positions, like on a daily basis. You know, I'd run across a family who needed food, and I would have meat, I would have food. And it was just,
wow.
It was, you know, and it was touching, because now I felt like I was actually giving back. I was in a military city providing, you know, just whatever I could for those families. And it, you know, it was funny because made some great friends, you know, some great families. I mean, I was away from home for like the first time, had Thanksgiving dinner with family. It was, me and my wife, I met my wife in North Carolina, which was probably the reason I was there in the first place. We can edit that.
You want that edited?
No, we're not gonna do that.
He's not gonna let me. Sorry, man.
That was a slip.
I'll try to meet any requirements
So
you have.
that's
That
what I
one's
mean.
gonna keep it.
We're not gonna do that.
It's things, if you are really, you don't even have to be super conscious. You just have to be super aware that everything works for a reason. It's Romans 8:28. All things work for God, for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. But it's all things. There are no negative things.
Yeah,
God, it's true.
that is so true.
There might be situations that you don't find favorable,
Yeah.
but they're not really negative, because at some point there's a positive in all negativity.
Well, and the strength that those things, those tests give us, and that sort of thing. You know, lots of times when I'm teaching the kids at work, I always remind them that the first 3 days of practice in any sport is not fun. You're gonna hurt, but that next week it's gonna be a little less. 2 weeks later, you're gonna be strong. But if you stop after that 3 days, and then come back and try to do it again, and come back and try to do it again, and don't see that blessing, that strength that's built into that, you're gonna struggle. You gotta see those positives.
That's a great point. That's a great point. You know, I mean, but I'm a really firm believer in all behaviors learn behavior, and I will never blame someone for something when I don't know if someone ever told it to them. You know, that's why I believe so much in mentoring and giving back, because you're absolutely right. It's hard to blame someone. It's just like coaching. Those first 3 days, or whatever it is you're doing new, there is that period of pain, but it's almost like when you put the seed in the ground, it has to die first. You know, it has to die first. And that's the beauty of when I can mentor someone, is I like being Yoda.
All right, this is my guy. This.
I like telling you what's going to happen before it happens, because I know what road you're on. And, you know, I can be Stevie Wonder and tell you what's going to happen because I know what road you're on. You know, these paths have the same obstacles, no matter, and so that's kind of how I try and do it. And then you have their attention. It's like, oh, you know what? He said that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Let me call this guy. And that's when you get, people who want to know, okay, what did you mean by that? How did you kind of know that was going to happen? And then you can help people navigate their own lives and make them see, all right, from this point, this is where you were, right? This is where we are. This is what happened. That's what happened, because that's what's on that path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you started helping people really young. You look young, and you said it was about 9/11 when you started helping people.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Sorry.
Yeah.
He said that he's been coaching for 25. Did you start when you were 10?
You guys
25
are sweet.
years.
Thank you so much. That's awesome. No. I'm a 68 baby. I was born in 68. grew up in the 70s in New Jersey. I'm a Jersey guy. So I give another credit to the wife that, you know, when we met about 13 years ago, her heritage is Jamaican. Her mom's Jamaican. Her dad's from South American Guyana. And so her and her sister are firstborn Americans.
Oh.
So they had different traditions, you know, and especially eating from African Americans who typically, well, we're in the climate, who typically are still mostly eating the way we ate in captivity. Let's put it that way. And it's not something that you can say is, you know, well, maybe not. No, it's literally, we cook the same, we eat the same foods. All of those things we were eating, you know, in the South on the plantation is the way we eat today for the most part. And the one thing she did was, she did two things really. She taught me how to breathe, which was the very first thing. Most people breathe in a shallow breath. So you never get enough oxygen into your lower extremities. You know, and then a lot of people don't hold their breath at the bottom of it to allow that release to come back from your legs, up back through your spine. So,
I don't
and
know
she's
that.
an opera singer.
He doesn't either.
Wow.
That is
Yeah,
awesome.
so learning how to breathe was probably the first thing that helped me. And then, like I said, I was in sales door to door. So I'm walking every day. I'm walking in North Carolina. I'm out every day. You know, I'm knocking, walking. And so I believe that had a lot to do with still having a healthy skin, because I'm in the sun every day and things like that. Even today, I'm out, you know. And the second thing was, you know, we made some fundamental changes to not necessarily in the beginning our diet, just how we prepared food. You know, we stopped doing, because she didn't like, she really wasn't into, you know, deep fried foods and things of that nature. My wife will sit and eat vegetables all day, which was like,
wow.
She introduced me to hummus. Never knew it existed.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff.
So, I mean, you know, a lot of what I am today, I can honestly say that had to do with the way she was brought up. Her mom was a nurse too, so the way she a woman's health nurse. So, you know, you know, and being Jamaican, it's like, you know, it was hammered into her about health. So
they're very, very.
It has helped me.
Healthy. Yeah, I lived in Toronto for 20 years, Canada, and it's so multicultural. And there are so many people from the Caribbean, Jamaicans, Guyanese, Trinidadians. And so I'm extremely familiar with the culture and what they eat and how healthy, especially Jamaicans are, and eating a lot of greens and vegetables. And Guyanese, I think that they eat Indian kind of spicy food, right?
Right.
Like fried, I think a lot of Indian infused kind of food. I'm not really sure, but their restaurants, whenever I go there, it was kind of healthy but really tasty. Yeah.
Oh, we like tasty.
Earlier that I interrupted.
No.
Do you remember? Did we get to it?
No.
Sorry.
No, it's just that you're so in tune with everything. You seem to me like you're extremely in tune and you're a thinker. When did that start?
So, you know, there was a question my wife posed to me a couple of months ago. She was listening to someone who was talking about people who have the mental track always playing in their mind and people who don't. You know, I've had a voice in my head since I was a kid. Like, but it was not some weird, oh, you're psychotic type of voice. It was really, maybe.
Well, I'll assess that. We're good, man.
But it's me. It's me. It was the me before I physically understood who I was. Like, it took me a long time to like not even know what my face looked like, because I wasn't really in tune to my physicality. You know what I mean? And it wasn't because I cared about everybody else. I really didn't. You know, as a young guy, and we were talking about this earlier, some of the things that you go through as a young person are preparing you. So when I was a kid, I was a middle child. So my life to me was torture. I was, you know, the unheard, the unloved one who acted out. And I just, you know, I was middle child all the way.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I used to have to entertain to get attention. So, and in, you know, the mid 70s in New Jersey, it was a wonderful time. It was really a great time to be an African American at that time was just really great. All my family had great jobs, houses, we were buying houses, and just, you know, you didn't think anything negative. And my mom was phenomenal. I had a mom who had her first child at 14.
Wow.
And stillborn actually. And she had my older brother, her first child who lived at 16. She had to drop out of school at 14. She now has her master's degree.
Wow.
She's an ordained minister, you know, music minister. She's written plays and, you know, this woman is like unstoppable. And she had always told us, you can be what you want, you know, and you know how kids are. We can be president, Ma. You can be president. And she encouraged our dreams. She encouraged us to think that we could be. And I took all of those lessons as truth. I believed it. So I didn't grow up with an attitude of defeatist. I always thought that, you know, what I thought was correct.
And that's one thing I found beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's one thing I really have found beautiful with Rashida and Ilyas's relationship. I just came in the picture 4 years ago.
Yeah.
5 years ago. 5 years ago. And she had so instilled in him that the world was open to him.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
that
right.
there is nothing that you can't do. Similar message that you gave. And anybody that tries to block that doesn't know what they're talking about. And you just move on.
Yeah.
It's more impactful when you know my dad passed away when I was 12.
Oh.
And she did this with 3 sons.
Wow.
And I mean, this is a powerful woman.
And she was really young too, you know.
Excuse me?
And she was really young too.
Yeah, she was very young. She you know, we didn't realize my mom was a kid like us.
Yeah.
Right. Isn't that true?
You know, she did a really, really good job with just making sure that the tools that we had were tools of self-confidence. That if you fail, it's because you failed, not because some invisible man has got you.
Yeah.
She did so well with that.
That's what I always tell him. I don't like the idea of, I'm from Somalia originally. So in Somalia, before the Civil War, it was a wonderful time. Even though our humans always find ways to divide each other. So our thing was tribalism. And that's how the country kind of burned, because of tribalism. But when I was growing up, we didn't have that, even though, you know, they would say, oh, so-and-so is a different tribe, so he might not pass you if he's your teacher. But it didn't really, you're young, so it didn't really set in. So when I came here, I thought America was, you know, the America of Muhammad Ali and Michael Jackson. And it was, you know, because we used to study those personalities at home. So we would have Muhammad Ali doing his, and I'm like, oh, you know, I'm going to go to the States.
Wow.
So we had, a lot of us had a lot of dreams. And a lot of us failed, kind of.
You didn't fail.
A lot of us, including, well, a lot of us did not reach their dreams. Some of us became nurses and doctors and engineers, but a lot of us did not reach there. And when I pay attention to patterns of you know, people's actions, and some people might say, oh, that professor didn't like me, or I didn't get the job because the manager didn't like me. But I pay attention to the little things. And I always tell Elias, my son, do not have that victim mentality where you say the professor didn't like me. Do your share. Do your share, do your job, work hard. Eventually God is just and things are gonna work out for you. But don't go in with the victim mentality where you say, oh, my accent's too big. They didn't really like my accent, so I didn't get the job. No, if you have something to offer and you work hard, people are capitalists. They're all business people. They want that person who would bring something to them. Nobody's going to shun you and say, oh, even though you are extremely skilled and extremely smart, we don't want you because your accent is too big. So I tell him, have confidence, know what you're doing, have your skills, go in there with, even though he's 16, but people are never too young to learn these things,
It always kills me when she says she's not successful, because the boy that she has raised is more valuable than any, being a CEO of any company or anything else. And you have had extreme amount of success,
but
and
he's
have touched many
he's an
lives.
easy assignment, though. He's a really good kid.
Someone said maybe success needs to be redefined, and and listen, we all need money. Money isn't something that you can choose to live without it. I mean, they have Alaskan shows. Those shows are great.
Yeah.
You can see the lifestyle. And some people, opt in. I myself, Jeremiah Johnson is one of my top 5 movies of all time. So, there's that desire to be in the wilderness and live like a man. And then there's the reality of the first winter. And I got ran out of Boston. But in reality, what we're talking about is, someone said to me, said, you get to keep every limitation that you have. Okay, that's the deal. Any limitation you put on yourself, you get to keep it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you claim them. Yeah.
You listen. The moment you say I can't, you won't. It's done.
Yeah.
So true.
And I work in sales. I work in door-to-door sales. So it is essential that we have one job in the office. We are negative destroyers. We cannot let the spirit of negativity exist for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because the moment you got a new guy who talks about a bad experience to another new guy who hasn't had an experience, there's 2 guys.
That's so true. It's contagious.
Yeah.
It really is. Because, and that's why I'm so grateful for my mom, because I think win first. I don't think, well, we could possibly lose. It never even dawns on me. It's a complete shock to not have what I intend. And you try and just put that with people. And when you add people into the mix of anything, you're adding literally with young people, someone else's limitations. It's not even theirs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for every mom that would ever hear this, single mom, dad, if you don't do anything right with your kid, get self-esteem right.
Yes.
I mean, you could just, even if you're lying, tell them how great they are.
Yeah.
And because, to be honest, the moment you start to say it, then you have an opportunity to believe it. Then they have an opportunity to believe it. But if you never say it, you'll never give yourself the opportunity to believe what your child can be, because you never put the intention out there for him to grab. All behavior is learned behavior, everything. Yeah. And if you don't teach it, they don't learn it.
That's beautiful.
So true.
Yes.
That is so true. That is so true. Yeah. Yeah. I tried. I raised them on my own.
Well, one interruption. It's a sales thing.
Go ahead.
Yes.
We don't use the word try. In my best Yoda voice, Do or do not. There is no try.
Yes. Yes. You know, I wish I have a Yoda scrub top. I wish I could find it right now. But yes, do or do not. Try.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is no try. Because it's all about, is this what you're intending to do? Yes, it's what I'm intending to do. Then it'll work.
Yeah.
Yes. And you
Yeah,
did.
don't.
And what he said,
I did.
Yeah,
What I did was.
Yeah, exactly. And you did.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't, say you did. And
Yeah.
at some point, that can become the reality.
Yeah.
But it can never become the reality if you never think it, intend it, or even want it. It can never be a reality if it doesn't exist in some emotional, mental plane.
Somewhere in your head or your heart. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and this is what I love about having people like Darrell on here. And this is the whole reason we created this channel, Darrell, is because the media, politicians, everybody's trying to set limits on people. No one is telling people, hey, what you think is what you are. Think it, you will achieve it. It's all, you're being limited here, you're being limited here. You know, don't talk here, talk here. And people are just absorb it, you know, they just like are attracted to it and they just suck it right up. And that's why.
Why do you think that is, Dustin? Honestly, what would you say?
Well, oh man, am I gonna get banned? Should I throw my conspiracy theories out?
Let's get it, man. Let's get it.
I honestly, you know, Rashida and I have had this conversation a lot, and I think in all aspects, whether it be lots of times organized religion, whether it be politics, whether it be media, there's people that don't want people to realize the trick of success because it cuts into their success. Therefore, if people don't realize that what they think is what they can become, then they're not a threat to the people who have already reached it. And when that message gets out, it equalizes us all, but nobody wants that. You know,
Yeah.
Now there's difficulties and there's challenges that from all directions. I'm not saying it's that simple, but I think that there is an organized, I don't want to sound, I'm not trying to sound Alex Jonesy here at all, but I'm saying this reality has to come. You know, thinking you will become is the key to success. It's worked in my life. All the time that I questioned and all the people that limited me and said you can't be this and you're not good at this, I always knew here, yeah, I can, but I thought I had to function within their system. Once I met Rashida and once I started growing and realized there's no system, there's no limit. We can change by believing we can change and by reaching out and letting other people know that there can be change too.
Have you guys ever seen the Celestine Prophecies?
I read the book long time ago, back in 1998.
This lady's read everything.
Yeah. But I don't remember.
Sounds like my wife. My wife's read everything. Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't. I'm not an avid reader, but I always look for meaning in life and in my situation and in everything that I've been through. And I always kind of, when I go through something difficult or challenging, I always ask myself and say, what is this trying to teach me? Because I don't believe in coincidences. Things don't happen just because. So I look for meaning in life. So that is what
I think we're kind of touching on something, you know, and this is kind of me and my wife's secret meetings when we talk about, you know, I'm not going to call myself a conspiracy theorist, but I'm a coincidence theorist.
Yes.
You can't be lining up all of these coincidences and there not be something that requires a closer look.
Yeah.
So, and I'm with you, Dustin, in a lot of ways, especially when we're talking about the organization of things like spirituality, the organization of communities through a systematic process that feeds the top cycle as opposed to the entire organism. That is something that we talked about. Actually, we had a conversation just yesterday about some of the things that we're seeing and the things that we're doing and what we're looking to do. And, you know, I don't want to get too far into
None of us do, but we kind of do, don't we?
but you know, we're looking for land, and we're looking for people who want to create community through understanding that we're in a different future in 10 years. This is a different planet in 10 years. This is you know, and I tell young people, like I tell my son who just had twins.
Oh wow, congratulations.
You know, try not to talk to the kids so much. Try to express what you want them to do through the way you feel. Because until you're 8 years old, your body is in a learning that is called theta, which has nothing to do with cognitive things like words. You know, a kid doesn't know the definition of stop. They only know the way you feel when you're saying stop. And at some point they put that together. So, you know, that's where the saying, do as I say, not as I do, because a kid doesn't really hear you. He sees you. Children learn by seeing. So, and feeling. More importantly, they feel your emotions. You know, you can say everything is fine, but if you're an emotional wreck inside, you're creating a child that has a false persona. It is an emotional wreck inside. Because that's what they see. They see the fakeness, you know, and that's what they're learning. So,
you know, sorry to interrupt you, but there's one thing that you just hit on that I've got to acknowledge here. Is that okay?
Oh, please.
Perfect.
I mean, I totally see this because, like, growing up, my parents had a lot of issues, as I mentioned before, with, you know, drugs and just all sorts of entanglement. But on the outside, they always had this lovey-dovey, but there was always that just nasty, you know, and it played out physically, but there was that nasty fakeness. Where when I met Rashida, you know, she'd yell things at Ilias that I would think, what? What did she just say, you know? But she loves him so much. And there's such open, like, love and legitimate feeling in that relationship. They have developed that love and that security. It doesn't matter what she says, he knows, but she can, like, you know, just lay it out. And
hey, Dustin,
it's a beautiful thing. I agree with what you're saying.
You know, when we talked the first time on LinkedIn, I think I acknowledged the privilege that you had to be in the position that you were in. You know what I mean?
You did, yeah.
Because unless you were born into, especially a Black woman of non-American descent, let's just leave it there. because when I met my wife, and I'm a pretty nice sized guy, you know, and some people would call my look maybe menacing. Not an ounce of, this woman would say things in my face that Muhammad Ali probably would never say to my face. And she wouldn't say it in a way that was pleasant and nice. If it required her screaming in my face at the top of her lungs with this accent that, how do you have that in Tennessee? You're from Tennessee. What are you doing? But there's a naturalness to an indigenous woman that a man or her sons totally get. It's a vibration, and it ripples through you. You can't even, like, you explained it perfect. That it is so true. And it's such a, honestly, it's such a secure feeling for me. It's amazing. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's violent, but it's amazing. It's like, wow, I'm protected here. Like, you know, and I know where she stands. There's no manipulation. There was a saying, we had a saying in like the late 70s about our Black woman, and we used to say it about my mother, because there was this commercial, there was this older, dark-skinned, I can't remember his name, maybe you'll remember, but he was older, Caribbean, bald head, and he had that real Caribbean accent, and he used to have this, there used to be this commercial, and he used to say, "That's Mother Nature." That is like the definition of like the Black woman. Mother Nature. Mother Nature got lightning. Mother Nature got wind. Mother Nature can blow it, man. And so, you know, there's something about, you know, women of color, man, that, you know, they're the power. It's a power. And when my dad passed, my mom had no problem picking up the slack when it came to its clobbering time. Yeah. None. Because she knew it was what was required. And yeah. A Black mother will always do what's required for her son to avoid a situation. Yeah. And that's what she did. You know, we're in the ghetto going to see Nutcracker. You know, yeah. My mom just, she turned up the experience, you know. Yeah. She just made sure that we had experience that was outside of these city streets. And
yeah. Darrell, isn't that so? Rashida did that with Ilias too. Yeah. So cultured with, she had him play hockey. Right. You know, she had to drive, didn't know how to tie the shoes or anything. Had him play hockey. Had like so many plays and just
museums, so and science center and tennis lessons. And because I wanted him. Even though we lived it was an okay area in Toronto, but still it wasn't a rich area. I'm a social worker, so my dollar was not stretching that, you know. So, but I tried my best to show him.
You didn't try. You did. I
showed him.
Yeah, okay. I'm taking Darrell's. I can take Darrell's advice now.
And now he's so cultured. Like he would watch Korean shows and Japanese movies, and I like that about him. That he's not so limited. So limited.
Correct.
And I don't like. Since he's a North American guy who was born in Canada, I don't like when the media only show when they talk about Black people and they say, oh, the Black people, they're the minority who don't have much. That bothers me because there are a lot of Black people who work hard to live in nice areas. Their kids are in private schools. They own restaurants. They own companies. And I don't like him to only, because there are poor people everywhere. Dustin's family.
Yeah. I mean,
still to this day, you know.
So I like
it's a challenge. It's a challenge because they're shown the opposite all the time.
Yeah.
And unless you see, you know, it was funny because when we were growing up, I mean, TV had a slot. You know, there wasn't no TV all day. You know, and then TV was right after dinner from a table with the entire family to the TV with the entire family, which, you know, might be unrealistic in today's society, but until families become what they did, they deconstructed our families, and that's not just a Black thing. They did it with all families. So they required women to now work. They required that with the cost of living, with the corporatization of every industry. Like utilities are a corporate industry. Yeah. Utilities, something you have to have, is now a capitalistic industry. Yeah. That wasn't in the 70s. These are all new developments. These are things that make the second income a requirement. You know, and I can't say they're doing it because we're choosing to participate in it.
Yes. Yeah.
As long as we can choose to play, that's why, you know, I want to build a community. I want to build a community of people, of all people. I don't, You know, I don't like saying that I don't believe in races, because I don't believe in anything other than the human race, but they did something else. They took a very important word out of America. They took the word being off the end of human.
Oh.
Makes sense.
I don't know if you understand what that means.
Can you explain that? Yes, please, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you.
Because just to say human, when I say, hey man, I'm just human, when you
Yeah.
just say that you're human, you're just acknowledging your flaws. So,
Yeah.
oh man, I'm only human. I'm only human.
Yes, yes.
But when you are
yeah.
a human being, there's
Yeah.
another part of you, you
Yeah.
know, that it's all about the balance. We're a human being. If I'm just human, then I'm just flawed.
Yes. Yes.
The
But when you
action,
take
the
that
thought
word
is
being
being.
off, you take the pot, you take what was possible in perfection, and now you remove it. And they teach our kids they're not beings. You're just human. You're just flawed. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna do stupid shit. Why?
Yes.
You don't have to. There's a part of you that's resisting that. Let's listen to that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the being part that isn't being acknowledged. And people might say, oh, those are small. Those are not small things, because they also took phonics out of school. Phonics is the ability to figure out how to word it yourself, how to figure the word out yourself, how to sound it out, how to use sounds in your body that resonate in you. So when you take out phonics, you're taking out a kid's ability to let sound resonate, to figure things out.
Wow, that's huge, because Rashida, since she, like, you know, she always is attempting to perfect her English and her pronunciation, her phonics. She took she paid for ESL classes. She didn't take the free ones. She like paid for credits, and her English is, you know, when it comes to the breakup of the words, the phonetical, you know, the way it should sound and everything, she's a million times better than me. And you're right, there's a huge value to that.
There's a vibration to these words. You know, part of what makes us a human being is the part, that being part is what can keep in line the flawed part. You know, we're going to make mistakes, but wouldn't it be nice to just make one in that category? Not to be a repeat offender in the same thing. It's almost like they're trying to remove the part of us that can learn to do better out from us. And, you know, and now they're introducing other things to give us more scapegoats, to say that we're not responsible for everything that we do. We're responsible for everything that we do.
Yeah.
Every part of our life that we're living, we are directly connected to the result that we're experiencing through thought and emotion.
Yes. Yes, and I find that to be true, especially when it comes to the people of color, right? Like I'm an immigrant. I used to wear my hijab, and I lived in Toronto. And sometimes if you make a mistake or say something or do something that they might not, some people might not agree with, they'll say, oh, she's an immigrant. She doesn't know much. No, I do know much, and I want you to treat me as a human being who is as equal to you. Just because maybe you were born there, or your color is different, or maybe you don't wear the hijab, does not make you smarter than me. Like, make me accountable. Even I remember when my first social work job was working with young women. It was a shelter, and I remember our coordinator would kind of, if I make a mistake when I was learning the first month, would not tell me the mistakes that I would make, but then she would grill other people, and then I had to talk with her, and hey, you know, Sue, what's happening here? I feel like you don't correct my mistakes if I make a mistake, or if I forget to fill out a form for somebody who.
She's asking to be disciplined. Wow.
No, but it bothered me that she would not.
That's deep.
Yeah, right.
It bothered me. I wanted to be Like my son would say, I want it to be normal. But I did not want special treatments because
Right.
I was the only Black person there. I was the only person with an accent. I didn't really wear my hijab then, but I was different. My accent was different. My look was different. Everything about me was different. I did not want her to treat me as such. And I said, listen, I'm never gonna learn. And I really said to her, this is a reverse racism. I don't want special privilege because my accent is too thick or I look different. I want you to treat me the way you treat Melissa and Samantha. Why not? You make me feel inferior when you do not make me accountable of the mistakes that I made. How am I gonna learn?
That's right.
And then the other girls also would feel like, oh, look at her. She's nobody. She's the golden one. I'm not. I feel awful. So I don't like when people say, oh, this poor guy is from that side of town.
Do you think that was from fear?
Do
you think that was from fear that people treated you that way? That's what was happening? Do you think that was a fear-based thing, or do you think it was more someone just trying to not upset a new person? Where do you think that was coming from that person?
The funny thing was there were couple of girls who also got hired about the same time. And if they made a mistake, they would be chewed, like they would be grilled. Here I was like, oh, no problem, Rashida. Yeah, no, that made me, how should I put it? I felt inferior. I felt that I was getting a handout. I felt like I was being babied because I won't be able to take the criticism, or maybe I needed more time to learn what needed to be, that within that time wasn't enough for me because maybe I didn't have that ability to compete with the other girls, to learn about the same time as they were learning, or to do what they were doing the same way, that like I needed a special treatment,
right?
Which bothered me.
And I think, it's hard for me to jump in. I try to listen here more than I speak in these scenarios. So if I'm off, you guys tell me shut up. But, I think when you asked, is it fear-based? I always try my best to treat people like people. And I think people get hypersensitive because of the wrong things that have been done. People operate out of fear because they don't want to do the wrong thing. And in that, instead of treating a person like a person, they do the wrong thing. Yeah. And it's just kind of a cycle. Am I off there? Or?
I think you're right. And I think it kind of started in like the mid-90s when we started getting the PC police, when everything had to be so politically correct. And I agree on a lot of levels that degrading conversation should never enter someone's mouth in terms of putting down you because of something other than your ability to do something. So more like racist things. So when we started becoming really PC in this country, where you couldn't say the truth, and now it's really out of control. Now, if you say something that is contrary to anyone else, you're a hater.
Yeah.
Now you're a hater. And so it's bad because now we don't feel like you can even go to someone with constructive information and say, hey, I feel like you could do a little better on this. You're really doing well on this, but there's some other things that if you tighten this up, your work would be spot on. Yeah. You'd be right where everybody else is. And a lot of times because some people just, they're so, I'm not even going to say it's guilt, because I don't even know what that would feel like, trying to talk to someone with a feeling of ancestral guilt about something. Dude, I don't know how you do it, bro. I don't even.
Man, this is what's so hard though, and Rashida and I have this conversation because, like you said, where it's become PC to the point where we can't grow together. We can't have conversation because there's something you can't say because it might be misperceived, but it's something you would say to your friend, to somebody you care about, to all these things. And it's really, back to my, what did you say? Coincidences theory. That's why I loved when you came forward and you like called me, like you opened that line and said, hey, what are you doing about this? Like, yes, finally I can find somebody to talk and not have to dance around.
Listen, dude, let me tell you something, bro. So in my job, what I train people to do is, sales officers aren't PC yet. let's just kind of lay it there. And when we get a new guy, an FNG, a freaking new guy, our first job is, number one, deflect the negativity that comes to him. And that's day one, what you're going to experience at home when you get home and they tell you what you're doing. When you tell them, look, I got this job and I'm working with these guys and we're doing this. You're doing sales? It's the first thing they'll get. So in my company, we've come up with these terms that help us develop young people. When you first come into sales, man, you've got little baby skin. We got to get your skin rhino skin. We believe in rhino skin. Ain't no soft skinned people knocking on your door talking about, please, sir, can I? No, you have to develop the type of skin that allows you to hear criticism, but it shouldn't shake who you are. Yeah. If your foundation is pure properly, then when someone hits you with proper criticism, it comes in you and it works immediately. Mm-hmm. It doesn't just, I wonder if he said what was right. When you hear it, it's like, all right, So PC has only turned people into folks who can't hear you. You can't even have hard conversations anymore with people. It's, here come the waterworks. Here come, people. It's that I seen that coming. That was not good. I was watching ESPN one day before ESPN went PC, and there was a guy doing a special, and he said, it's the wussification of the American male. So, this is like 91, when you can say wussification on TV. Yeah. You can use every other curse word, but you can't say wussification because I don't know if you might have to inform her what that means.
No, don't you know? No. Any insult. Come on, I thought you said you had you have a wife. Any insult, she's got it down, man. Let me tell you.
So and that's what I think America is like, so soft right now. I mean, and slavery happened. Yeah, it was a part of, and everything I post, on Facebook is, Black history is American history. American history is Black history. This is all one and the same. This is the experience we had. This is how we came to be in this country, and this is what we came through. Mm-hmm. A lotus comes through mud. So there are certain things that, we just, and none of us are living in that time when there didn't seem like there would be any hope for a future, but we're all standing on the blood and the backs of the people that endured that for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even in the case of our light-skinned brothers, it's just, you're not directly responsible for any of the atrocities that happened, but you're standing on the shoulders of those people. And that, and that's where it comes from. So and believe me, what would my life be without being born in '68, which was probably the most tumultuous year of it all. You know, thank God I was born in March. I was already out of the belly, wouldn't receive, you know, because now I'm dealing with my mom's emotions, and you know, your kids, we just don't understand the impact that we have vibrationally on people with just this lack of understanding. It's just a pure lack of ignorance. It's not even understanding. It's ignorance. We are choosing to be ignorant. That's what we're doing.
Yes. And
you know, on both sides. It's really on both sides, because the honest thing we should do is tear up the government and start over. There, I said it.
You know, and that's and I like this guy. You know that. But
because it's a system.
Yeah, go ahead.
You don't even, you know, I watched a presentation today. It's not just a system. It's constitutionally a system. It's not just a system. It's a system that's actually protected by the Constitution. So either you're going to get rid of the whole thing and construct a society of people. We're not babies. You know, we don't have 1 out of every 1,000 who can think. We got 1 out of every 2. We don't need kings and lords to make our decisions for us as human beings anymore. You know, we don't need a government to sustain the things that we need as individuals. I'm not saying get rid of the government, but we need to get to a point where all of that stuff needs to be re-examined and put into light of today. And until we do that, there are always going to be people who feel empowered legally to do the things and create the system that's being recreated. And here's the other point. There has never been a democracy in history that has ever worked.
No.
They all failed. So at some point, we're either going to let it fail or we're going to reconstruct it to what it should be.
Yeah.
So what will it take to like
that's exactly where, how do we, that's one thing, how do we move forward with that within a way that, you know, isn't to the way that they've done it historically? I mean, what can we learn from the, you know how it usually moves forward is not the prettiest thing, you know. You know, and you know, there's got to be a better way. I mean, like,
but that's the colonial way, my friend.
You know, that's true. That is true.
So
100%.
You know, you're talking. Listen. So I don't believe in the violence of a thing to create something. That's force. We have power. The government is force. People have power. You know, the story of the walls of Jericho, it's a very unique story. Because you have what they call thousands of men marching around a city for 21 days, I believe. And on the 21st day, they stopped and shouted. So can imagine 21 days of thousands of people marching, creating a trench. Okay? So imagine now when they shout, they're ankle deep or calf deep. And they're resonating in the ground now. Yes, those walls are going to fall. You get enough voices shouting in resonance and match the vibrational pitch of that wall, because now you're 6 to 8 inches deep. That wall's falling.
Wow, I haven't heard it from that perspective. That's, you put the science to it.
People are power. Governments are force. So we don't have to do things that force would have to do. We can get a couple 100,000 people together, put them in a room, and let's just imagine the government we want.
No, and let's
play that out.
That's how we have to move forward. That is how we have to move forward. Because
That's right.
everything on all sides right now, it's not working. It's only digging in more and giving an excuse to use the force on all sides, and it's ridiculous. And they have no excuse, but they continue to do it. It's that, well, it's my theory, or it's the what did you call it? I love the way he said that. Not conspiracy, but what is it? Coincidence. It's the coincidence.
They got a lot of them that line up.
Yes. What were you gonna say?
But as an outsider, I see that today, Americans are extremely divided. It's like either one side, one extreme, or another extreme. I feel.
Hold on. What we see in the media, I truly believe, being out and interacting, the independent thinkers aren't that divided.
But I feel.
But what they're presenting to us is division, which is creating more division, which is creating more fear and more, really, I really.
Let's ask Darrell.
Oh, yeah. He's sales, he's out. I guess probably more than.
I am. But I'm in California, man. It's totally different vibe than anywhere else in the country. I'm not saying that everywhere you are, there's a microcosm of the whole. So, it's not different in the sense that, there aren't starch, alt-right Republicans, and there aren't starch far left liberals. There are, but it's almost like being in a military town, because if you're not in LA, San Francisco, or San Diego, you're in farming town. You're typically near a farm. You're typically near people who farm. You're typically near people.
Yeah, in California. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. My
Right.
I've only always been to LA or San Francisco or San Diego. So
Exactly.
I don't know, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not not the national forests, the 4 national forests, the lakes, and California is absolutely gorgeous in terms of geography. It's a beautiful state, and you have 5th, 6th generation Asians, Latinos.
Yeah.
And I'm from New Jersey, where we had, when I was growing up, they were immigrants. They weren't born here.
Yeah.
So, when I got to California, and I'm not trying to be funny, but I have never met an Asian without an accent.
Yeah.
I hadn't.
Yes.
I hadn't met a Latino who didn't sound like a Latino. And I'm, even as, it's funny because I'm really the guy, when I'm talking to a Latin person, I'll start to sound Latin. And I'll be somewhere with my wife.
I always speak with her accent. Do you know what I mean? People at work will be like, what did you just say?
And I do it with her too, because she sometimes she sounds really Jamaican, and and I'll tease her, and I'll but you pick up on things, and what it is, it's even in your accent, there's a vibration that he feels when you speak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when she talks, and that's why I used to love getting her so angry, because the Jamaican would come out, and I had to hear it.
Then she throws some native words in there along with, and you learn. I can pull that one.
She grew up in Florida, so she thinks she has, a little hood with her. So she tries to, get a little hood sometime. But it's just, I see where you're at, because when I'm talking to people and that happens, I don't realize it's happening. I have no idea that it's happening. And, a lot of people tell me it's a way of endearing yourself to the other person. I'm probably what we considered a really high empath, in that I not only have the ability to sort of feel you, I kind of know exactly what it is you're feeling and what words to attach to it.
Mm.
You know,
Wow.
so
Which makes
when
you
I
a
go
great
into
salesman,
someone's
I'm
home,
sure. But,
oh my God.
right?
It's not that great because it's so engaging that I spend so much time in their homes
Yeah.
that I don't get the multiple appointments because I really connect with the people, that I work with. It's just, and to me, it made America America for me. It made this country, the spin note that last 17 years I've been door to door. And I cannot tell you, when I started, I'm like, man, people. I was at the people, bro, and then when I started, I answered that ad. It started with the guy DC, just his energy. And I'm coming from the car business in New Jersey. He's a Southern guy with the Southern accent, and I'm, that's not how you sell, young man. This guy goes out and makes like $1,000 in the first 2 hours. And I'm like, and he's doing everything that I thought was wrong. Like, he's not looking people in the eye, gyrating, but at the end of the day, when I only made like $20 and he's sitting in the van, counting them stacks, and he said something to me that changed my life forever. And I said, man, I don't know how you do it, bro. I was like, you're out there. And he was like, listen, man. He was like, and he got serious. No show, no dough. If you don't give people a show, don't expect to get in them pockets.
Yeah.
So
That is so true.
now I understood the entertainment value in sales, because it is entertaining the way especially with meat, bro. I mean, there's a showmanship to laying down a steak and putting it into your hand and getting your mind to think, man, it looks like it'd be juicy, doesn't it? You see that marble in it?
Look at that.
And I learned that from him. And I take my daughters on the truck. I used to take my daughters out. My wife, we used to go out and sell. And, and when I started doing solar, my wife came out and she finally got on the doors, and my wife's a pure introvert in the sense that she comes off introverted, but she has this energy that's like, you're not supposed to be like that. and that was my mission. The first 5 years we're married, we're going to find out who the real you is really quick. And I have the ability to pull things out of you really quickly that you never knew existed. Mm-hmm. And she used to always say, I'm not mean, that's you. You make me do these things, but no one can be that nice and be real. I just didn't believe it. I had to prove it wrong. Dustin, you know what I'm saying, man.
I know.
You
had to bring out the human part. The being was there.
Please.
You had to bring out the
right. Way too much being for me. I need more human. And so I started to understand the level of communication that happens, and it's just like with us, seeing each other for the first time. The level of what the possibilities are greater because you don't have a real expectation. You know what I mean? And that's the same way when I knock on someone's door. And in the first 30 seconds, you feel like I've been your brother Darrell from years ago, because there's just a way, and it's not something you even really say. It's the way you try and feel. That's why I say it's about the projection of feeling that I want someone to feel when they meet me. I don't want you to see a guy, a dark-skinned black guy with, broad shoulders and, I want you to feel like I love that guy. Come on in, man. You know?
Exactly.
You're doing.
And that doesn't come.
You got it. You got
It
it.
doesn't come from words. It's not. You can't word that. You have to feel it first in order for them to feel it.
Yeah.
That is so true.
You know, and that's the power I'm talking about, because if we can get enough people to really feel like what our society should be like, that's why we don't have examples of it. Because once you see it, then you can feel it. But now they're charging us to feel it first so we can create it. If you can't feel it and imagine it, there's nothing you can see on this planet that wasn't started as a thought first. The Bible says everything that is visible was invisible before. So that means that your mind controls what becomes visible.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, and if you look even from the science perspective, that's why discoveries happen. It's there. It's just somebody thought, hey, this must be how this works. And then boom, that's how it works. You know,
They're actually finding
the technology.
You know, I do a lot of that, looking into people who are in these newer sciences, you know, these epigenetics and all of these things. They've determined now that illness is only 1% genetics. 98% is thought and emotion.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're sick, you're going to be sick.
Yes. And psychosomatic. Yeah. If you feel, my mom, I love her, but she always felt like she was sick. And you could feel like sometimes she would say, oh, my arm hurts, my arm. And then her arm, she's a little bit lighter skinned than I am. So you could see the redness, that energy, that illness comes out. It's like, where did it come from? Yeah. Nothing's wrong with your arm.
No, it's true. It is so. And working in the medical field.
Yes, I was going to turn to you.
No, it is so true what the mind does and how much of it influences overall wellness, mentally and physically. You know. Well,
if every drug requires a triple-blind study to be considered a drug, and the placebo is just as effective.
Yes.
That's the problem. That's the system that we're talking about, bro. Mm-hmm. And that, okay, if we know that the placebo effect is almost 40 to 60% effective in a lot of cases, then you can factor in the fact that, you know, there's Eastern medicine that deal with the vibrational aspect of your body, which is tuned to frequencies. We're all a frequency, and Eastern medicine deals with more of the frequency-laden problems of people, you know, where they know that, hey, if I got a problem with my ear, there's probably something in my foot that can fix it, you know?
Right.
So it's that wholeness that, you know, and it's because it's a touchy subject. You know, my wife went through an experience last year where, you know, they found a mass in her liver. And so we went through that whole experience, you know, with the surgeries and the chemos. And I just got to tell you, man, the medical profession. So before we even knew what it was, they're telling us what it was. And I wasn't having any of it. I'm not, you can't tell me that this is what it is and you have zero evidence to tell me. And that's the first thing they do. They throw cancer out there immediately. It's the first word that comes out of their mouth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, how do you know? Well, my experience, no. And I would tell the doctor, that's not going to work for me. I don't even want you talking about it. Well, sir, it's not something, well, you don't have to say it. You don't know it. Do you know it? My experience, but you don't know. So I don't believe in, see, that's the kind of stuff. Like today, we're talking, and that's why I'm kind of on the fence with the Trump thing, because he's right in a lot of ways. If we're doing more testing, then there's going to be more people who get tested positive. It's facts. it's a natural thing to say that you could have been walking around with it for weeks, showing zero symptoms. And the moment someone tells you you're positive, the symptoms show up.
Yes. Yes.
So why are we testing? I mean, and I'm not, you know, if you feel something, go get tested. But for the most part, immunity, your immune system is so connected to your emotions, your mind, your thought.
So true.
And that's the problem I have. My problem isn't necessarily because for me, my mind, please give me all the corona. Where's that? You know, that's the way I think. It's like, you know, there is no weapon formed against me that shall prosper, no enemy. You know, that's not just, oh, he's just spitting. No, I literally feel that way every day. And it's like, I don't know where we stop feeling that way as people.
Well, there's so much evidence and everything to show how much thinking influences our condition, period. You know, period. You know, and yeah, obviously I can't say too much, but I love what you're saying. Okay, you know.
No, I mean, that's, you know, this is not, I don't.
But I really like that
you
advocated, honestly, Darrell, and people that are listening out there, listen to what Darrell did, the way he advocated and, you know, talked to his physician and said, where is this? Like, let's not go there. You know, where is this? And, you know, what are all our options? And we're gonna work through this, but we need to not just jump to conclusions.
Because the moment a doctor tells you that, the moment someone in authority, someone with years of experience, years of practice tells you something negative as a fact, you know how hard it would be not to believe it, not to say that it's, and that's for, you know, I consider myself strong-minded in that sense. Imagine a person who isn't strong-minded hears that information. Their world emotionally, physically, mentally is going to break because some professional is guessing and not coming to you with facts. At least with facts, you're prepared to give me the options. Without facts, you can't even give me an option. All you're doing is just trying to get me to wrap my mind around, I have cancer. Oh no. And that's what, you know, and I guarantee in my mind, I was just thinking, how many people do you actually give cancer by saying that? This is what I was thinking. You know, back when I was growing up, people wouldn't even say the word. They would say, oh, he got the C. Because there's something to acknowledging things. I mean, that's the way I grew up. People wouldn't say that word. They wouldn't say heart attack because to them, it's like inflicting it on themselves because now you're thinking about it. Now your body has a chance to wonder what that would feel like to have a heart attack.
Yeah.
You know?
You're attracting that energy, that bad energy. You're attracting, you're calling it. That's how Somalis are like
that's the way,
Yeah.
That's, you know, like even Native Americans didn't like their picture taken because they felt like you stole their spirit. Now you have an image of their spirit and you've taken it from them. Those, I mean, there's something to those old thought processes, not to that extreme, but you got to be able to hold something in for you that can't be taken away. You know, and that's what self-esteem comes back to that self-esteem.
Kind of a perfect example of that is I had a medical issue at one point, and I think it's even worse when you've been trained and you've gone through all this schooling that says the signs and symptoms. And I had a couple signs and symptoms, and I almost died on the couch.
Oh my God!
I'm like, it's done. It's done. It's done. I know what's happening here.
If you think that he looks pale right now, oh my God, he was 10 shades lighter than that. And he's like, I'm dying. He said, I think I'm getting to that. I'm like, no, nothing's wrong. We gotta go see it. Like he was just writing his will on the
but there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
And everything,
Yeah.
my pulse, I almost
All
passed out.
He almost passed out. Almost passed. Was pale. Was like there was no drop of blood in his. I think everything was like.
Wow.
But my amazing African wife is like, shut up. You're fine. You're fine.
That's what I'm talking about. Vibrated right through you.
Yeah, oh, you better believe it vibrated right through. I shot right up. You're
That's
embarrassing
right.
me. My brother and sister are here.
Get up.
Yeah, get out.
No, you cannot embarrass a woman from not to listen.
No, right?
Listen,
No.
I almost died embarrassing my wife. That's the first sin. Do not embarrass the dark-skinned woman.
Yes.
That's
Wrong. Yeah.
yeah.
In this day, she reminds me.
And then we had to rush him to the emergency, and it was like there was nothing wrong. I'm like, you never, ever.
I can see, Dustin, but I can see, bro, that knowledge of symptoms. Man, that probably scared the hell out of you.
Oh, you better believe it.
was
And
scared,
and I went through the whole process of what's going on.
Accepting himself.
Yes, the
Yeah.
color. Like it's knowledge is power, but it's dangerous too.
Yeah.
If interpreted wrongly, I was gone. I was done.
Yeah.
Thank God for my African wife. To send those reverberations through my soul. Get up.
Hey.
You are embarrassing me. This is the first time you've met your sister-in-law and your brother-in-law.
It's not a coincidence, and I know the subject, we keep coming back to it, but it's not a coincidence that they brought over older women too, into slavery to raise their children. And remember, those became the CEOs of the 20s and 30s. These kids who were raised by black nannies and slave mamas, they became the presidents. And remember, that's why I say, we are literally fighting the wrong fight, because the first fight is, let's take color out of our own description.
Yes.
We have to take color out of our description.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It has been scientifically proven that everybody is Southeast African. Okay.
Right.
It's been and the way Jane puts it is, we're all 30th to 50th cousins. That's who we are.
Yeah.
So we're all family, and once we do that, then I think we have a chance to come together. But until we keep creating these separations, and through color, through we're human beings.
Yes.
That's who we are. We're human beings of different hues. That's what we are.
Yes. Yes. Elias, when he was in I think grade 1, as I was walking him from school one day, he said to me, I think he was the only black kid. Him and another actually Jamaican kid who got transferred, Kiran was his name, his best friend. And he said, now that Kiran's gone, I'm the only black person, but they call us black. But we're not black. We're all different shades of brown. He was only maybe 5 or 6 years old. That statement. I'm like, wow, this kid knows. And I said, yeah, you're right. We're all different shades of brown. Nobody's black. And it's like, the white kids are not even white.
I'm speckled.
Yeah. And I'm not black. Look at me. I'm brown. We're all brown. And even now, the other day we were talking, and I said, we're talking something about race and color. And I said, you have to, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I told him. I said to him, you have to see yourself as a human being first, not a person of color, not a person who is, maybe if you're the only black kid, you see yourself different, or as somebody who's maybe inferior, because that's how they make you feel. See yourself as a human being who's interacting with other human beings. Present yourself as that. Don't see yourself as the only person of color or the only Black kid in his class. I said, if you feel different and show the world that you act like you're different, then people will see you as different and treat you as different. But I said, don't see yourself as somebody who's different from the rest.
I mean, you know, I agree with everything you said. The first chapter of the book I'm writing is, you know, I just went through some of the thoughts on chapters. So chapter 1 is going to be, it's supposed to be fun. And so I say the one thing that if we can teach our children something as a skill, we teach them to embrace every challenge in every situation as a moment. Like, just, you find yourself here and you're thinking, I'm the only Black kid. And then just be in the moment. Don't, and you're right, you shouldn't see yourself as Black, but that's a societal thing that's been, it's almost like you stick your hand up and, oh, that's chicken soup. And every time you stick your hand up there, it's always going to be chicken soup. So you know the chicken soup is there. Okay? So you don't swim in the chicken soup. The chicken soup is going to be there.
Yeah.
What I have to do as a person is just, what are the best parts of me? You know what I mean? So if I'm looking at everyone as a human being and we're all equal, then now I want to know what makes me different. So we can't run away from our differences. And that's what I would tell a person, you know, what makes me me is because I'm this Black guy from Jersey.
Yeah.
Who's been around and, you know, and has had these experiences. And that's what makes it its own thing. And so, and even I think I mentioned you, Dustin, or I might have been talking to my wife, when I saw you and your son, if you didn't tell me that wasn't your son, I would have thought he was your son. I'm sitting there looking at it and I said to my wife, I was like, man, he looks just like Justin with melanin.
he does.
They like the same food.
No, he
they
does.
like the same movies.
Because
he was meant to be my son.
Listen, what they're finding out is that the way you approach something and the way your intention is towards something, you can change the molecules of things. Yes. You know, these are all proven things in science that molecules can change with emotion and thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
They can rearrange themselves. This is also spoken of in the Bible about being able to change anything you want, you know, based on your belief. And it really is about what you believe in your heart and you don't waver on. See, that's what this world creates. That's the chicken soup. Chicken soup is a big bowl of doubt. And the moment you go tasting doubt, you'll never get what you want. That's what the soup is. It's just, all right, you're either going to walk and ignore the soup, or you're going to get into a situation and feed on the doubt. And so in terms of him and his environment, to be honest, I don't believe in not being where you're supposed to be for the purpose of your own edification and growth. So whatever he experiences, whether he wants to deem them positive or negative, that's going to be the experience to provide him with the ability to get to where he's trying to develop his flesh body into. You know, we have to develop these things. We come with this all-knowing understanding. You know, we seem to have revelation about things. Oh, I get it now. I get it now. We've always known it. You just never experienced it to be able to say, now I get it. You know,
and that's why it also, the wisdom of a child, like they don't, you see that early, they don't, all that stuff hasn't been beat into them. The chicken soup hasn't been, and even when he was 6 years old, he was seeing it from a perspective that's way more advanced than most of us try to fearfully approach it, or at least me, you know, I guess I can't speak for everybody, but you know, until you're enlightened, you approach it wrong out of fear and out of like the chicken soup instead of the reality as a child would do it. And that's, you know, Rashida and I were talking also about, you know, when a child learns to walk, there's no fear.
Yeah.
When they get up,
No
they
quit.
fall down. They get up, they fall down.
Yeah.
Think about if they were afraid every time that happened. They would, their legs wouldn't, their muscles wouldn't
They
develop.
wouldn't learn
They
to walk.
would be 30 and not be able to walk,
Yeah.
you know?
That's right. Hey, no pressure, no diamonds.
Yeah.
That's so true. That is.
It's just the reality. And so that's where,
What is
you
your,
know,
if I could, what is your book going to be called, and kind of tell us a little more about that project? That sounds exciting.
so my book's going to be called, well, it's a little play bonically on words. It's called Everybody's Uncle.
Ah.
But we use uncle in a certain, you know, uncle in our community is, it's a powerful position. You know, when you think about only 1 out of 4 African Americans grow up with a dad, your mentors are typically you know, the brothers of your mom, you know, your uncles,
Yeah.
or you know, the boyfriends of your mom, those uncles.
Yeah.
So, you know, and as I've gotten older, so I've gone, you guys, this is like an American thing. People that are watching that are American, they all understand. You might understand it, but so I've gone from, you know, in my 30s, in my 20s, let's start in my 20s. I've gone in my 20s from being, you know, like dude, bro, you know, and I was a coach. So I was coach in my 20s as well, to in my 30s, you know, being OG, you know, OG lasted till my 40s, and now I'm Unc. You know, I see a young guy in the store or something, he'll say, "What's up, Unc?" You know, there's this progression of, I don't know if it happens in all communities, but in our community, there's this progression because you don't see a lot of older black men in the streets. It's not, it's, you know, it's almost like a Bigfoot sighting sometimes to see the maturity that we're, you know, we have to carve out through diet, through these social injustices. And, but all of those things are things that when you get one, you got to be great. And you have to really hone in on this mentoring that has to go out. And it's not just our neighbor, our community, it's all communities, because there's a lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
And so the book is about getting some information that like my philosophy is, if I never told you, I can't blame you if you don't know.
Yeah.
So
I figure, let me go ahead and tell you what you need to know, so now I can blame you when you do it wrong.
Yes.
So
true.
I can go in the office and get mad at my guys because I know I told them. But I'm in the street with a kid, you know, now I can hand them a book. Next time I see you, you're not getting away with this. I'm just saying, you know?
That's
So it's hard for me to see a kid with his pants sagging down and have an angry moment and say, "Hey man, don't you know we better than this? You should do." No, you know, hey, have you heard about where that style came from? What that's about? You know, let's go ahead and educate them about it, as opposed to berating them. You know, I hear guys on my feed talking about kids today. Now, I got stories on top of stories about that, but you know, just as an example, you'll hear someone on the, you know, especially now with this whole process of it's funny because it's like we're fighting for these rights, and they're civil rights, you know, and as Dave Chappelle said, we can't even get civil. We're not asking for equal. You're talking civil. So in that context, you have to look at it from the perspective of you. And these guys are criticizing these kids out there. Look at them, man, tattoos and the image. That image to, you know, to African American people. you're not the only people afraid of those kids. Their mamas and daddies are scared of them. No, you don't understand. So if you want to criticize that kid and you don't have a kid in your neighborhood that you're not mentoring, you don't have a kid at your, wherever you work, that you don't put on, you know, some 18-year-old who just got a baby and he's got this job as a temp, are you wrapping your arm around him to make sure he keeps that job? To see if he's going to put school in his future? Or you don't criticize these people and you're not doing anything. So, and so as I'm saying that to them, I'm saying to myself, well, can I do more? If I can do this much, can I do more? So I've had the book idea for a long time. I just never knew what it would be about. I always thought it would be a book about sales and my magnificent way of doing things, but
well, it'll tie in. Believe me, it'll tie in. Being an effective uncle, I'm sure takes some sales techniques, right?
It does. You know, when really my whole philosophy in sales, when it comes to training, is I don't build salespeople. I try and make a better person. A better person will be a better salesman.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's teach you about ethics. Let's talk about righteousness and being ethical and learning your job. How about we come with competence? How about learn your job? And then, you know, so I don't train people to be better salesmen. My job is to make you a better person. And the only way to make you a better person is, like I said, it starts with negativity. I can't tell you how many people I sit and interview that I can ask you to look in the mirror and tell me what you see and you run out crying. That's a problem.
Yes. No, that's huge.
It's like my mirror game doesn't work anymore. You know? And
that's what I probably would have done too. Like I would cry. I like that person in the mirror.
And you know, and I
tell her to stop it, because me, man, you put that mirror there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write a book. Okay, you're gonna be tired. You're gonna be tired of hearing. Do you know what I mean? Oh, you want to know my skill?
But it's a way of introducing you to yourself. I mean, when people come to do sales, you know, they're looking at, you know, a lot of them see their buddies and the success that their buddy is having, and, you know, this, that, and the third. And, you know, the first thing we want to do is we really kind of want you to quit. You know what I mean?
To quit?
Because, oh yeah, we want to get rid of you like week 1. In the
Those
sense
first
that
3 days of practice, isn't it?
Exactly, because you want someone that's gonna want to fight. You're gonna want to put in, because you're going to be putting time in with this person. You're going to be investing your time, your gas, your knowledge, your energy. And it's important that I'm not going to say the right person, because there's no such thing as the right person. You just have to get that mind in a position to where it can even receive something that says you can be better than what you thought you could be. And that's the biggest problem I see with young people, is they come in with zero expectation on what they can be. And that is scary as hell. That's the problem. They have zero expectation on what they can be. You ask a kid, hey man, if you can make any amount, one of my questions is, if you can make any amount of money you want to make a week, how much would you make? It's scary for people to think that $500 a week is livable in California. And you got kids and you hit me with, oh, $700 or $1,000 a week, that'd be good. And you know, and that's the problem, is that there is the floor is now a basement.
Yes.
We got to get some level of expectation. We got to raise a little level of self-expectation. Not even what I expect from the world, what I expect from this girl, what I expect from my parents. What do you expect from yourself? And that's huge. It's huge. And so the book is really about trying to get a seed in a kid's mind that says, I can be that. and believe it.
Yeah.
So I got a kind of a question here that I bet you're an expert in after all these years of coaching and sales. With Ilias, he is the most, amazing kid ever. I love him with all my heart. He is inspiring. He's intelligent, but he's been so secure throughout his life. Rashida has done such a good job making him secure that sometimes that drive that you're talking about, to go towards the 50,000 a week instead of, how do we move forward? We've been really working with instilling that, wanting him to see the great value he has and reaching up, like you said, not towards that basement, but reaching that level. But he's so
He's
secure.
laid back.
He's laid back and secure, and we don't want to break that.
Yeah.
He's not laid back.
He's
not
really
laid back.
smart.
Oh, okay. He knows.
Yeah.
He knows. Yeah.
Yeah.
Want him, like 1 second, Darrell. When I was young, I was the one who was driving my mom and dad to.
How many siblings do you have? Let's start.
I'm the
Let me
oldest.
get
I
some
have
context.
three younger ones. So, and he's the only child. And when I was growing up, I would ask my mom and dad and say, hey, if I'm failing in physics, I would ask them to get me a tutor. If I want something done, I was the one who was pushing them to do things for me. If they would have it their way, I would just take care of the younger ones. That's how Africans work. You raise your younger siblings. But I wanted to reach places with, nobody pushing me. I learned how to drive when I was maybe 15. I'm the one who pushed my mom and dad to send me to the States so I can attend, school here. Ilyas, though, even though he's extremely smart, he knows we try and teach him about the world. He doesn't have that drive.
And part of it might be he's got a couple first child parents. I mean, that might be part.
No. I already know what this is.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, help us, man. Help us.
Woo! Miss Rashida.
Yes.
Miss Rashida.
Yes. What did I do?
So I'm going to take a couple of guesses here.
Yeah.
When was your mom born? What month? So I'm going to guess Leo or Taurus.
Me?
Yeah, your sign.
Yeah.
No, actually, I was just like you, born in March. I'm a Pisces. I'm indecisive.
Okay. So now that's
yes.
crazy. Okay. So, yeah. All right. So, first part of the month, second part of the month?
17th.
Okay.
So I'm Pisces.
All right. So, yeah. So, you're a lioness. All right. Alpha.
Yeah.
Alpha female, lioness. So, and this is kind of what I'm going through now with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I kind of had to, and I'm just going to tell you a story. You're not going to like it.
No, go ahead.
No, this is what
It'll
it's
help
for.
loosen the reins. So I was very alpha-ish when it came to the kids in the sense that I never wanted them to feel something other than secure. And I'm not talking about, even, me and Dustin talked about some of my addictions growing up.
Yeah.
I was straight up honest with them about all of that stuff. I never tried to hide anything, especially my daughter, who was just could pierce you with this truth look. So I never tried to hide or BS her about anything. Yeah. But I was always going to be me. You know what I mean? I'm just and that's not something that I don't think can change from, just living. There has to be it'd take an act of God to get me to be outside of myself. Mm-hmm. So it took my daughter, when I got remarried, years to call me.
Oh.
She wouldn't return texts.
Oh.
So my mom never remarried because I don't think that dude would have survived. Okay, and she knew it, and she'll tell you today that she just didn't feel like she could put a man over us when we were so young, you know, and it had nothing. Now, my mom's gorgeous, like drop dead 70s, you know, Tina Turner type.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, and she's a singer too. So she was a performer. So my mom, by all rights, she could have been married 18 times.
Yeah.
You know, but she chose not to because me and that dude would have had war. It would have been war because he would have came in thinking, well, I got to get that one under control. And this one was not going to get under control. That just was not going to happen. I can tell you that knowing for sure now at 52 that that he would have been in. And plus it was the 70s and 80s when, you know, we were learning how to be bad kids, TV, Little Rascals, Dennis the Menace. His life would have been miserable. So when I say that as an alpha, if you want alpha energy back from your son, you got to play a little omega. You got to be to him what you aren't so he can assume the role.
Yes. I get that. I really get that. Yeah.
Instead of, this is going to be hard for you, instead of stating what you want, ask him if it's okay. Let him, make him feel like he's now the decision maker, or, you know, even give Dustin a little love. Let them feel like they can make decisions in Rashida's world.
But I do that. Don't touch them, you know.
and to her defense, she's honestly, that is good confirmation, because that's kind of actually the route we've been going. I've said we need to model and not as much bully.
Listen, my wife tries to bully me, and it's and she really feels like she's effective at it. You know, because there's something about, and she's Caribbean, so when I say Caribbean woman, I mean you too. There's something about, and this is real, there's something about Caribbean women who don't have the DNA effects of what slavery did. Yes.
She's told me that so many times.
I told him, I
now that's huge, because African society is matriarchal society. It's not a patriarchal society. Black and brown people live in matriarchal societies. Women rule the roosts. It's just because, you know, and it's not about whether the man was not intelligent. It's just, we're hunter-gatherers. That's not the way our society was built. Our society was built for us to take on the physical work of our society, especially in the jungle, especially with all the danger around, especially with all of those things happening. Our women developed into these, I'll take care of my responsibility because you're taking care of yours. So when you come into this home, you can drop your guard. You don't have to be hunting lions when you come in this house.
Dude, you know? That is so beautiful. As a husband, like, no, that is the most amazing thing ever. She supports me, go to school, go to work, come home, and everything's taken care of. She supports me. Everything's, you know, it's just amazing, you know, how secure she makes me. No, I'm not kidding. It is a gift to have. No, it is. To have an African wife. It
really is, bro. And you know, like I said, and with my mom, it was the most amazing thing to see this woman raise 3 boys in the 80s. You know, she had a great job. She worked for the phone company, you know, but, you know, my mom was not one for not administering the hard lessons. I remember one summer, bro, she was catching heck trying to get us to do our chores. Like, she would come home at night, the dishes wouldn't be cleaned. So she came home one night and the dishes weren't clean, and she literally broke every dish in the home. And went out and bought her some paper plates and was like, I don't know what y'all are going to do. But she took the paper plates with her to work. If you don't want to wash dishes, you don't need any dishes. That's the kind of mom I had. And, I call myself being angry with her. And she had this real annoying ability of walking in my room. When I walk away from her, to get away from her, I'd close my door. And, she just felt the necessary to come in after me. Moms, So one day I got my allowance and I went down to the hardware store and I put one of those latches on that door. Purposely went downstairs and got into an argument with her, walked away to come lock the door, sat on my bed and waited for her to come barging through like she always does. Now, what happened next, I'm surprised I'm still alive. But the moment she hit that door and realized there was a lock on it, I heard the Holy Ghost enter her body. She didn't say a word. The only thing I saw, I'm telling you, this is the true story. The only thing I saw was that door flying off the hinges, heading right for me. She kicked the door off the hinges. Like, she literally kicked the door and she said, if you ever put a lock on my door again, she said, you are not allowed to put this door back up. You no longer will have a door in any house you ever live in.
I got a lady. I like that.
Listen, I remember laying there like she's never getting in, and that door coming right for me. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. It was this, yes, yeah. So yeah, tone that. If you want him to be that, you just, and it's not taking away from you.
Yeah.
It's a part of the training that he has to go through, and that there ain't gonna be a Rashida out there for him. He's not gonna have Rashida as his wife. He's going to have to be something that someone else is looking for. Yeah. And so, and in most cases,
how many times have I told him that? I'm like, dude, your like what you have as a mom is not going to be replaced.
Oh no!
Like you're gonna have to. I feel for you, bud, but
or wait a really long time.
Maybe attract a strong.
Excuse me.
Maybe he will attract somebody strong and kind of control him. I think.
No, but you understand that he's going. Listen, because he's going to be the man that he is because of the mom that you were.
Yeah.
He's going to pick someone that is going to be very similar to you. Yeah. It might be a quieter strength, but her strength is going to be a part of who she is. Even when I watched you guys' video, I watched your video on the 5 lessons.
Yeah.
Man, I felt bad for you, Dustin. I'm like, oh my God.
Believe me, there's lots of counter positives, buddy.
You talked about the weight gain. But I gotta tell you, man, it's and I have a Jamaican, and it's like, golly, bro, it's a really high level. It's a shelf that most of these women from outside of the States have this drive, and it's not about being better or great. It's just about fulfilling your own expectations.
Yes.
And so when I say about Ilyas, and I think I said this to you, you can see greatness all in that kid. He pops on camera. He has this authenticness about him. I would mostly teach him about how to not abuse women emotionally, because when you have such a strong parental figure, he probably tend to be a little more manipulative toward women just to avoid that for a few years.
Yes.
Until he realized that it was right for him, you know. So
Yeah.
I would really push him toward, you know, and most people say I'm crazy when I say this, but I would never push young people towards some singular dating process. I would have them open to this ability to have multiple people who you are continually having dialogue with.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even, you know, like, and I learned this from my son, to be honest, who was probably the better of the Darrells, but when he was a senior in high school, between his junior and senior year, they had like spring practice. He's playing football, and they played another school, and they were playing without helmets, this flag football stuff, and his orbital socket got broken.
Ooh.
Ran into his own guy's back of his head, broke his orbital socket. So he winds up in the hospital, emergency surgery. So he's in the hospital for like 2 weeks, and he was 16 going on 17. When I tell you about the parade of women, of girls, we're 3 hours away from home.
Wow.
We're 3 hours away from home. I'm not exaggerating, Dustin. There was a girl coming to this room like every 30 minutes during the course of a day. And, you know, they started repeating at about day 6. You know, the same ones would start coming back. And I asked him, you know, me and his mom were separated. I asked him, I said, "Are you sleeping with all of these girls?" He's like, "I don't sleep with any of them." And I said, "What?" He was like,
Like, what, dude?
he was like, and he learned. He was like, "That's the beauty of it, Dad. When you don't sleep with them, it keeps them. They're like his best friends now. He has a great marriage, great woman." When I tell you there were about 40 different girls from different parts of the county, not the city,
Wow.
county, who brought flowers, came to see him and sat for hours, like, you know, and there'd be 3 or 4 of them in there. And, you know, and the other thing that impressed me about him was after the surgery, he woke up, he slept for about 12 hours. He woke up, they were medicating him. It was about 3 a.m. He woke up and he said, "Dad, tell them I don't want any more morphine." So day 2, he was off morphine.
Wow. Wow. He knew, that's tough, but he knew that, wow, smart kid. Smart.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Good,
He's a
Daryl.
doctor.
He's a doctor?
He's a good kid, man. Yeah, he's a doctor of education. He's a principal.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's doing really, really well. Very proud of him.
Yeah.
What were you going to ask?
But-
You did really good. No, I wasn't.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you did.
He must be really good looking too.
Well, you know, he's a very good looking kid in that, but he has this humble power. Like, I can't even express it. It's almost like me, humble and confident. Like, confident, but I don't have the humility that he has. This humility that endears people to him. Like, I mean, you meet him, you love him because you feel secure, and he's humble and he's amazing. He's an amazing kid, you know. He really is.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about Elias. I mean, that guy.
That's what I see in him, and that's why I say, you know, you don't have to stop being who you are, but if you want something anytime you want something from your kid, you have to represent the opposite of what you want.
Yes, I totally get that. I also have OCD, so that kind of adds to the fact that, you know, one feels they have to be in control all the time. So I raised them with that too, with that controlling tendencies, and like maybe sometimes second guessing him, and
We've worked on that.
yeah.
We're moving forward pretty well with.
I mean, You know what's funny is they label these things. That's a
Yeah.
freaking superpower. What are you talking? I mean, things like that. It's a superpower. I
I
mean,
don't know. I don't know.
You're exactly right, and I tell her that too.
because they labeled it and they make it seem negative. That's what we're talking about before, the system that makes you think something. And here's the other reason why the reason why we get negative news, it's done on purpose, you're right. But it's done on purpose to make you think of something good.
Mhm.
Because if you saw all of this good, you would naturally start thinking of bad things.
Ah.
Hmm.
That's been a plan. That's a Freudian plan that's been in effect since like 1930.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's how they got women to smoke cigarettes, man.
How do they do it?
They told them that it was during, the women's liberation, and it was a march on Washington.
Mhm.
And so R.J. Reynolds hired every reporter in the country to come to that march because he was planning a demonstration.
Mhm.
He had over 100 women light up cigarettes at an appointed time. And then with the slogan, I can do what I want.
Ah.
So when women seen these women, because smoking was taboo for women,
Mm-hmm.
men wouldn't let women smoke. It looked like a disgusting habit for men to see women putting elongated sticks toward their mouths. That's the true story. So R.J. Reynolds knew that if he can open up the women's market, he could really take cigarettes to another level. And so they had this demonstration during that march on Washington. He had every reporter in the country at this. He paid for every reporter from every newspaper in the country to come to this event. And at the appointed time, he had those women pull off their shirts. It was some slogan they had, light their cigarettes, and everyone take a picture. His women's smokers went up almost 3,000% in less than 6 months.
Wow. Mm.
Only to defy men. It's the cycle, and that's what they got us at. They know that they can feed us one thing just to trigger something else.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I always, with everything, I say, be careful of that reaction. Like, why are they putting, there's a reason they're putting this out here. What are they feeding us?
Yeah.
What are they,
Yeah.
what is the
Or
purpose?
what are they not showing us? What are they hiding is the
Yeah.
other question.
Yeah, and what have they built beforehand that when they show this image, that it brings up in my mind?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
I mean, yeah, it just consistently.
That's
So
what I'm saying, man.
as far as the negative news though makes you think good things.
It does.
Like, yeah, like steer me through what's the what not the conspiracy. How did he say? I keep forgetting. What's the agenda there? Oh, I'm not supposed to say agenda.
So essentially, they understand that if you're seeing negative images, there's a part of you that wants to see different. So you start thinking differently. You start thinking of what the opposite of that would have looked like. So when they show you negative images, you try and look for a silver lining in that negativity. Whereas if they showed you positive images, you would automatically start to think about what negatively could happen in that situation. Oh, he saved the baby from a burning building. Man, I wonder what it would have been like for that baby to burn. No, but that's the way, I mean, listen, that's the way human beings, listen, Freud knew emotions are stronger than anything.
Yeah.
Right.
And once they get your mind to start tracking on the way it thinks, so they got us thinking in certain ways. There's no person on earth that can now watch TV now and not get hungry at some point.
Yeah.
They're going to feed that.
Yeah.
That's going to be a projected image at some point. You're going to get hungry watching TV.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like we're sitting here now. I hadn't thought about food one time.
Yeah, me neither.
Until I just mentioned food.
Yeah.
That's
And the
you're
commercial
sitting in
that you
front of
saw
a
the other
TV.
day.
Yeah. With the clock.
If we were all sitting in front of a TV, we'd have been grabbed a snack.
That's so true. And that's one thing I
fireworks.
love. Yeah, that's one thing I love about this YouTube. What YouTube gives is that communication, that entertainment, that knowledge between us.
Yeah, knowledge.
Between people, between human beings.
Yeah.
Not without that, well, other than what's already been conditioned that we're spitting out. But other than that, as pure as I think is possible at this point in time.
Yeah.
And I really believe that can be a game changer with society and everything else.
Dustin, do you realize that us having this conversation 30 years ago was a 1 in a billion chance?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Beautiful?
And then to have a conversation in which we can then share the excerpts of this conversation with others.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one guy, let me close this window, guys. There was one guy that broke it down. I forgot what I was watching, but the average, it wasn't even medium income. It was like the average person that makes $24,000 a year is richer than just about any king that ever lived in a castle in England.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And has more servants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, literally.
Yeah.
I call Dine and Dash, and they bring me any food I want. Steak.
That's right.
Within
That's right.
15 minutes, or it's free.
That's right. That's right. You can have your hair done. You can have your back massage. You can have your nails done in 40 minutes. I mean, the way we're living life now. And I tell young people, I get them in the classroom. I'll have a classroom that I'm hiring, and I'll try and explain to them that you're really living in the best time. Because, when I wanted to do something, I had to figure out how to build it before I can make it happen.
Yes, yes.
There's nothing you need to build now. You can literally sit back and dream up the wildest thing and make it happen.
Yeah.
And we are living in unprecedented times.
Yes.
And so at some point, everything is already here. You're probably going to be better in a bartering system. You're going to grow up in your skills and be able to offer your skills. And it's happening now. This virus has changed so many ways that people are making money now, creating livelihoods for themselves, that our way of thinking as an industrial country is going away. Yes. We have to think of what's the next iteration of people. This is, you almost kind of want to be in a third world country, because it's like, okay, we can be a part of the development. If you're not thinking next level, you're going to have to, if you're not thinking next level, then you're literally going to have to find an opportunity that's 20 years behind where we are right now.
Yeah,
that's true.
We're moving so fast that I would literally tell your son to develop the ability to be able to move people. Because if the way this society is going, a group of 10 people are going to be the equivalent of a group of 100,000. Okay? If one guy with 500 friends on Facebook can reach 500, we're not even touching the tip of the iceberg now in terms of marketed influence that the right person can have. And I would teach my son how to be an influencer in that,
Yeah.
how to get a bunch of people to believe in something and go get it.
Yeah.
That's what I would teach him. And he's already on his way. I can see that he's fully engaged with everything and everyone. And what you're seeing in terms of that, what you're looking for, well, you're already providing it. If you're providing it, then he's looking at it, I don't got to do that. You got that? But if it was something that was missing, he was like, okay, that's a hole that needs to be filled. Let me fill it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of the way I would, and that's what I do with my young people that I help out. You know, I try and create this opposite to get them to go in another direction. You know, and sometimes it's by words, sometimes it's by deeds, but the deeds part happens organically, you know, and it's funny how it happens. If you just let flow, everything will work out.
Yeah, that's so true.
Sometimes we're so handsy, you know?
Yeah, that's so true. That's, you know, and that was one thing with, because he at this point in time, he does play video games professionally. He makes a pretty good amount of money playing video games, and he has a
Ilios?
Yes.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now, when I was growing up, I got crucified for that.
Well, what he was about to get crucified.
Yeah.
Because what happened is his grades dropped. Okay, and he was playing for large amounts of the day, and Rashida came to me and said, "Yo, I'm taking," because of course, Dad was the one who bought him the, you know, Switch and the PlayStation.
Gamer. That's us, man. We started it. That's our generation.
And right?
PlayStation.
Well, and I'm like, you can make money playing video games? What's that?
The average gamer is 35 years old.
Yeah.
Yes. But, so this was when we were still going through the fiance visa process, and they were still in Toronto. I was going back and forth. Anyway, it's a long story, but he had that video game system, and Rashida's like, he is not doing his schoolwork. Like, I'm taking it away. And I said, baby, I said, this is motivation. I said, you tell him if he gets straight A's and he figures out a way to make money from those video games, he can play as much as he wants.
Yeah.
And what happened?
He did it. He raised those grades. He found out tournaments, you know, then, and you know, she was always worried about, this is previously, so I'll give it to her, but she was always worried that he wasn't a good communicator and that he was shy at everything. You know, he hosts he does the play-by-play, like the color commentary for the tournament. You know, he's on YouTube with us now. It's just that motivation, you know, that it's exactly what you talked about with that, when we did the opposite, when it was like, dude, you know, we're going to give it to you if you can figure out a way to make it valuable. Yeah. And he did it.
You did really good.
So I just saw a TED talk.
But you allowed me to do it too. Lots of wives wouldn't. Like, you thought it was crazy. Because I said, I don't even care if the kid sleeps. If he gets A's and he stays healthy and he finds a way to make money, let him do it, you know?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
He even started monitoring his own sleep. It's just, you know, blown up.
Well, our parents' model is not going to serve us today.
No.
Yes.
They grew up in an industrial age. We are moving out of the industrial age. The educational system is built to put factory workers in the field, not free thinkers who are capable of making their own living at the age of 15. They're not trying to produce that kind of kid. So I understand that tradition says that's not good for a kid. Well, I just saw a TED talk that said kids that play games for 10 to 20 hours a week have faster cognitive ability, have greater eyesight ability, greater reaction time. This woman went on and on about gaming, and I'm like, where were you 30 years ago?
Right? When our parents were just beating
my mom, listen, we were hard-headed kids, you know, in the sense that we spent our time outside. So, you know, we played games, you know, 2, 3 in the morning when mom go to sleep. We're going to turn on the game.
Tecmo football.
And we played electric football and things like that. But today's kid needs that their brain is moving so fast that extra stimulus is creating synapses that are opening up parts of his brain that previously weren't open. So we're creating super kids from what we're exposing.
Our brain that probably will never open.
And you say communication, and I get what you're saying, but these kids have communities with this gaming. It's not just him
Yeah.
and some quiet night, you know, he's up playing. No, he's got headset on. He's in a community.
Yeah.
Totally.
You know, and if he's the leader of a community,
Yes.
Yeah.
then you've got a great kid.
Yeah.
Because to get a kid to follow you today, listen, think about it from this perspective. There's a million other things they'd be doing.
Yeah.
But they choose to follow your son and be in his group.
Yes.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
You know?
But I need to one thing I want to ask you. It's sort of follow up on what Dustin asked earlier. So he's awesome. He wins, he makes money, he is known within his community. But I tell him I want him to get followers. He's so laid back. He doesn't even care because he knows that his name's out there and he makes money. And I want him to go and like get his followers and get his channel going. And he's like, eh. And what kind of bothers me is that he doesn't have that drive. And maybe you covered it before, but that I want him to have that fire where he wants that success.
Maybe we should make him pay for the car with his.
Find a role model.
He is, yeah.
What kid have you seen that displayed the qualities that you would want? Where have you seen those qualities displayed in someone that he could link up with, especially someone his age? You see, I don't care even if it's a fictional character.
Yeah.
It still has to be something that he can say, oh,
we were watching Kobe the other day, his biography, and how by the time he was 17, he was mentoring other kids and going to schools. And they say even though Kobe is
that is so not fair.
Yeah. And I'm like, you're 16, you know? Like,
Rashida, you went Kobe.
Straight to Kobe, man.
Like I forgot that comedian. He was.
Listen, as a parent, your expectations are exactly where they should be.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I want him to meet in the middle. Like I don't want him to like it's Kobe was exceptional, but I want him
Is he in the sports?
No.
He's not in the physical
sports. But he's not he never liked sports. I put him when he was young, I put him in soccer, I put him in tennis, hockey, baseball. He really didn't connect with
stuff was tough.
Yeah.
I mean, because we play basketball and he has a great skill set.
Yeah.
His hand-eye coordination is amazing, but you know when you're 16, you know the skill development level, it's too late.
Yeah. See, yeah, that's kind of, you know, what I mean. So
go ahead. She had him play hockey and stuff, but you know that it was tough. You did amazing.
Soccer,
you did amazing, but it's tough.
I mean, so in order for the type of energy that you think you're looking for, I don't think it's missing. and I'm being honest because, listen, as a youth coach, you know, a lot of my decision making when it would come to kids I just look at your mama. You know, I'm going to look at your mama. And, you know, you got the kind of mama that I would play at linebacker, you can be my linebacker.
Yeah.
You got that DB type of mama? Oh, yeah, you're going to be my DB. You know, because, you know, you got that cerebral quarterback mama, you're my quarterback. Because that doesn't, you know, that doesn't change. That apple don't fall really far from the tree. So what you're looking for is already there.
Yeah.
However, maybe what he's doing, how about martial arts? Is he into things like self-defense and something like that?
That's my problem. I've slacked on that.
He was in when he was about 7, 8, 9. I don't know why he never really although I supported him. I remember his first day when he one of the sports was it soccer and he said, "Mom, I suck at it." And I said, hey, it's only your first day, you know, just don't worry about it, have fun, go and learn. But he never really connected with anything that has to do with the physical work.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because, and I don't want to play a victim here, there's only so much a woman kind of, when you're raising a boy, you know, you have to think about
Yeah, we're not even going to hear that one.
but I had to like think about his A, you know, being an A, like, you know, instilling like.
No. I mean, it can just quite simply be that's not who he is. That's,
yeah,
you know.
Maybe that's not who he is, but I just
Or
not have him be connected.
how about music? Is he into music?
He loves music. He loves.
Well, there you go. That
yeah,
is
he
sport.
really loves music. He loves music history. He's like, he has a good ear when it comes to like how music is put together, coordinated. He really is into music. Yeah.
So then you have to, there isn't a whole lot of difference between music and sport.
Yeah.
There's not. You know, the aggression that we use in sport, musicians can translate that into an emotion that you feel when they play.
Yes, and he's really, yeah, he's really good at that.
Well, then that's his expression. There's your lion right there.
Also, I have.
And as far as his video games go, I mean, the dude's amazing. His only problem is he has a huge heart. So, and he's very good. So he goes to the tournaments, and, you know, I have the nail in the coffin mentality. I'm like, end him now. Yeah. And, you know, he'll extend it.
What games? What games?
He plays Smash Brothers. What is it? Ultimate Smash Brothers. He uses Ridley, which is not, Ridley was the bad guy from Metroid, the old Nintendo game Metroid, mm-hmm. the little guy that curled around. You probably played it when back in the day. He uses Ridley, which not a whole lot of people use, and he's amazing with it.
Like he dominates.
And he's getting better, yeah. But when he first started playing, he kind of like, I don't know, depending on who he was playing, he'd give him a chance, and sometimes he'd end up losing, you know? And I said, you know, there's that, he has an
So you wanted Kobe?
Yeah.
You wanted Kobe?
Another one is, hang on, Darrell. So I always, like, even when I was young, it was just so, like, I could not explain how Muhammad Ali, when he was young and starting, he already, like, he knew who he was, and he's like, I'm the greatest, I'm the best, I shook up the world. Where did that come from? Where his brother wasn't like that. I know his family was working class, but he was so full of confidence that nobody had.
He learned that from a wrestler.
Yeah.
Really?
A wrestler came to Louisville when he was a young boy, and all he did was talk trash. And he noticed how people would throw money on the stage every time that wrestler talked trash. So he put two and two together and said, talking makes you money, especially when you're talking trash. So, and it's funny you mentioned Muhammad Ali. You mentioned him earlier. Yeah. I mean, he's A1 on my hero list. Like, for guys my age, I mean, he's number one. Like, and then like now I'm looking at interviews I've never saw before because he did so much overseas, which we never got to see here in America. And what he said a couple of things that has resonated with me when I've been watching him recently, and that he always had this contemplative understanding that he could be the greatest. He knew that internally. And you said Kobe, and you mentioned Ali. Yeah. So just the mere
fact. For low expectations.
No.
Why don't we throw Bill Gates in there too?
That's the point. You see, without those expectations, you're gonna get a little Ray Ray.
Yeah.
Okay. So without that's actually one of my chapters too, is inspect what you expect. which is a sales term. And that if you expect something, then the inspection of that expectation should be there as well. So it's almost like, you know, DC, I got that from DC, because sometimes you'd open up a case of meat and there'd be a T-bone missing, you know?
Yeah.
And so every time we got our cases, he'd open every case and inspect what he was expecting.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So without the expectation, you have to, see, that's what's missing in today's kids. Today's kids don't have parents who are putting expectations on them.
Yeah.
They don't have parents who actually encourage them to be the best they can be at whatever. They're like, oh, how'd you do today? Oh, it was great. You do your homework? Sure did. Can I see it? Never look at it. Great. Have a good night. And those are the good parents.
Yeah.
You know? So if you want to create someone, I would honestly say, if you wanted to create something that was going to be great in terms of a human being, you got to put the pressure on them.
Yeah.
Without that pressure, he's not even. So we have this other saying in sales about a new guy, especially one that's kind of hungry. So you hold him back. You don't let him go. You give him every excuse in the world not to let him be by himself. You hold him back. You hold him back. What happens when you pull an arrow back further and further?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how we have to treat people.
Yeah.
So last story, guys. The Bible is very clear on a couple of things, you know. So Christ, when he went into Jerusalem, rode on a what?
Donkey.
Okay. So that symbolism, everything in the Bible is based on Eastern symbolism.
Yeah.
Not Western understanding, it's Eastern symbolism. So Christ on a donkey is literally who we are as human beings. We have the perfected God in us, and as flesh, we're donkeys. Christ rides on a donkey. And if you don't believe me, think about the other story that sort of illustrates this. Jacob and Esau. Esau was the older brother. He was the hairy one, like man. Jacob was smooth, like a pearl, like a spirit. Jacob came second and overthrew the birthright of the flesh, who was Esau. And here's the other crazy part. Esau is Esau, Esau, Esau. So it's literally telling you that what you think and want to be inside can overcome what happens outside. That's why Jacob stole his birthright, because your mind and spirit have a birthright over your flesh. It has to be controlled. It's a donkey, a stubborn mule. A lot of Bob Marley songs about stubborn mules. But that's who we are as human beings. That's why we have to go through these hard things that sort of whip us into this thought process that makes us better, because we're damn jackasses. We're donkeys. We're hard-headed. It's just reality. And until we experience those hard things, you know, we're not going to change. So I would make life as difficult as possible. You want, just like you did for him to become a great player, you gave him an impossible task. Get straight A's. You can play as many games, make money playing games, and get straight A's, and you can play games. Guess what he did?
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
So find more impossible tasks.
Yes. Yes.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Impossible.
You know? It's
So
been
that's,
great, guys.
that's how he's gonna be. That's how it's gonna become Kobe.
That's exactly how. Well, think about what Kobe's father did for him.
Set him as a 14-year-old to play against pros.
That's right. Snatched his ass right out of the U.S., took him straight out of his comfort zone.
Yep. You don't know the language. You don't know the
Culture.
play
Right.
style. You don't know anything.
That's right. And Kobe talks about that as being what really helped him get the mentality. You know, and it was just like Jordan. What made Jordan great was the failures, not the successes. You know, we're afraid for our kids to fail.
Yeah.
I tell a story about my daughter. You know, people hate me for this story, but my daughter was like me. She had to learn the hard way. So telling her not to play on the ice, on the bricks, isn't going to help. Her falling helped.
Yeah.
Me saying it, not help.
Just like we learned to walk.
Yeah.
That's it, man. And that's human beings. That's who we are.
Yeah.
And I think, and I think I think one of the most amazing things about this conversation is the hope. Like you said, like the chances of us was 1 in what billions to talk. I mean, and it's same with me and Rashida. Like, because we actually met on LinkedIn after I got divorced. Yeah, really.
Wow.
You know, completely different everything. Like
Everything.
never the mentality, every aspect, philosophy, everything. And wow, you know, what has come from that is the most beautiful experience I've ever had. I mean, I can't even put words on the blessing we've been given.
I honestly believe, Dustin, that you're meant to do something amazing too, bro. You don't get to be put in that situation, man, unless there's something that you're being created. You know, that's a process for this creation that you're in. There's something special is going to come from this experience, what you're going through, even the life that led to this experience.
Yeah.
You were led right into that experience. Without the other experience, you would have never gone into this experience.
So true.
Yeah.
You know, and that's our life. And if we ever just sat back and looked back, we kind of know where to go next.
Yes.
You
That's
really
true.
kind of know where to go.
And that's what I always tell you too, baby. What you've been through. And like when you always downplay what you are, something has been built here that's amazing. Don't downplay because at this point in time you're not Prime Minister of Canada. Okay? Doesn't mean you're not gonna be. You know what I mean?
So that's and I'm glad you even said that, because you know what makes a great prime minister of anything? You know, your desire to want to make something better for everyone.
Yes.
You know, and if that's your desire and you have all the requirements, the only thing that's missing is your the way you would feel emotionally if you were the prime minister. Yeah. So the only reason we don't have what we want is because we really haven't assumed the position of having it.
Yes.
That's true. So when you assume the position of having it, now that universal law can come into effect.
Yes, law of attraction. I listened.
That's right.
That's
exactly right.
It's amazing. Like, you know, I used to laugh at that, but wow. That's something. That's a
something
true law,
else, bro.
It's the law. It's the law.
It's a law. It's a law, because the moment, like we started the conversation with, you get to keep every limitation you think about. You get to keep it.
Yeah.
You know, and the opposite then becomes true. You get to create whatever you think about.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, that's the life me and my wife are trying to, you know, forge for ourselves. Even in her practice, she's a voice coach. She's an opera singer. So voice has been the way that she's expressed herself as an introvert. You know, she started pre-med and wound up, you know, in a voice program with one of the leading voice teachers in the Black community in history. So she found, and now that whole thing has come full circle. Even the cancer she went through last year was a preordained struggle to create the course she uses today. because it's hard to help someone if you've never been through shit.
Yeah.
So true.
You know,
Yeah.
and you can't talk about healing until you've used it to heal yourself.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a healer, prepare to be sick.
Yes.
Well,
Or
and
heal
like
yourself. Yeah. 'Cause-
well,
Right.
like-
But that's
and like you
my
said,
point.
yeah.
like you said earlier, my experiences, honestly, what I learned in nursing school, nothing. What I experienced is why I'm where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Because I can connect with those kids and go,
Yeah.
yo, you know what? You're standing at the crossroads
Yeah,
here, and
I've
it
been
comes
there.
down to your
Yeah.
choice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of elements that contribute to this, but you have a lot of control, and you can do it. Your mind does, dominate your outcome.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough, man. It's because you're talking people with clinical practices, when some of the older practices, just teaching a kid how to breathe properly. And
Yes.
to be in the moment for a few seconds.
Well, and
does
we do
freaking
that
wonders.
too. That's what I thought was interesting when you were talking about, I don't know if it's exactly the same, but we do what you call belly breathing.
Yeah.
So they get that when that anxiety comes and everything. I mean, your technique sounded even maybe a little more advanced,
Mhm.
but I was like, he's right on. Like that's.
Well, my wife taught me that.
That's key.
Because the first thing she figured out, especially, being African American, I was holding a lot of weight in my stomach area.
Yeah.
And she realizes that there's just not enough oxygen getting to most people, especially Black people. We are very shallow breathers as we get older, and carry weight in places that Black people carry weight. It creates more of a shallow breath, and which makes you more unhealthy. And so once she sort of opened me up to that, and the walking, like I said, in Carolina, I really started to feel a lot like my old self again, in terms of, when I was being more athletic. But now her practice is actually moving toward healing through voice,
Yeah,
like,
wow. There's a lot of research that. Yeah.
Dude, it's huge. It's probably going to be a part of what's new in medicine, because now they're finding, they're saying that, how those bricks in the pyramid were moved.
Yeah.
Okay.
You see those big long horns they have in some of the hieroglyphs?
Yes.
They're saying that that's a way to magnify sound. And
Wow.
3 or 4 people on the sides of those large stones on a tone was lifting those stones.
Oh, wow.
We're vibrational. It's sound.
Wow.
There's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe that brings us back to who we are as these human beings. And that's why I say, it starts with the family. It starts with family unit, and, through an understanding, I've learned that family is just masculine and feminine together, and it doesn't matter what that looks like. You know what I mean?
We have the conversation a lot about, sometimes the emphasis on genetics that we've been conditioned isn't always, who our true family is. Those that are supportive of us.
Even when we look at the abilities that human beings that we're going through now, this pressure, man, it just feels like there's so much pressure that it only creates. Pressure only creates. There's, when everything gets pressurized in powder kegs and explodes, that's when shit changes. That's when the butterfly comes out of the cocoon.
Yeah, that's
when,
that's
even
the baby out of the birth canal, right? The water's got to burst, right?
Yeah, but that's what we're going through. And the problem is that because we're not in touch with, we're not even, most relationships aren't even in touch.
Yeah.
Most families are. Look how fractured the family is, especially the Black family, which used to be the foundation of our community.
Yeah.
It's so fractured, you know, and it had to get fractured, guys, in order to create this pressure. It's hard for me to see bad in things when good always comes out of it.
That's key.
Mhm.
That's,
You know?
you know what? That is key. It is hard for us to see bad in things when good always comes out of it.
It
I
always
love that.
does.
No,
And
it's so true. It is so true. That is,
you know, so that's where I think we are now. I think we're in the process of the bad shit about to explode, and what comes next, we're all gonna love it.
it will. Yep, good things will come from it. I totally
Yeah.
agree. So we probably should widen this up, man. We've taken a lot of your time, Darrell.
Two things.
Well-
Before we go, please.
Say it again.
Two things before we go.
Yes,
One,
ma'am.
how's your wife doing?
My wife's phenomenal. You want to say hi?
Yes. We're gonna say hi to her.
Please, yes.
Come on, baby. Oh, goodness. So, I'm not gonna fit. Hello.
Hi.
Hey,
How are you? I'm Rashida.
I'm
This is
Dustin.
Dustin.
Hi, Dustin. Hi, Rashida.
Hey, so nice to meet you.
So nice to see you. How are you?
Oh, very well. I'm very well. Yeah. It's been a great year, really, considering saying all
All
considered.
things, huh?
Yeah, yeah. It's good to meet you.
Nice to meet
I-
you.
I've been listening to the conversation, and it's very, very interesting. I always like to hear Darrell talk with people because he always seems to bring out the highest level conversations.
Yes.
So
He's very, very intellectual,
Yeah.
very deep, very in tune with everything.
We're very
Yeah.
blessed to have met, Darrell.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. But then, you know, they say there is a strong woman behind every great man. So,
this is true.
very nice.
That being
seeing
said,
you.
I am the greatest.
Dustin, let me tell you something, buddy. This conversation does not need us. I'm
That's
telling you
true.
right now.
That's true, right?
When two women of Caribbean descent get to going, buddy, I'm telling you. I know it's Africa, but like I said, it's
Yeah.
the same to me.
Yes, it is the same. I'm from, we lived in Toronto, me and my son. That's where he was born. For the past 20 years, I was in Toronto. And there's a lot of Jamaicans, people from the Caribbean,
My
Guyanese.
grandfather was there.
Yeah, extremely strong woman, very passionate. Their food is passionate. There was a place that sold Guyanese food, and oh my God, the lineup would be like I used to stand there in the middle of them. Like, please get this and get that. It's so awesome. I lived in where a lot of the Caribbean stores were. My goodness, that's where I met what I miss about Toronto. That diversity.
Yeah. You can't
Yeah.
get it in California either.
Yeah, it's not here either. We found a fusion place, but it's
Yeah.
not even close.
Yeah, it's mostly like
Visit
Cubano.
Toronto. It's amazing.
Yeah, Toronto got that one thing we don't like.
What is that? Justin
Cold.
Trudeau?
What'd he say?
Cold.
Oh. Well, Minnesota's got it too, but we're about getting, huh?
Justin Trudeau's messing up. I loved him.
I like him. Okay.
I loved him
But a lot of
before, but
people don't like
he's
him.
doing
We're talking
something
about
different.
politics, not his smile. Okay.
He's making me question my loyalty.
Yeah, no, I know. Justin is he's getting lost, I think, right now. But
Yeah, I wonder who
He
else
has a
in
good
this
heart.
year. There's a couple of things that come out recently. You're just like, is this real? Sometimes you don't even know if it's true, though. That's the thing about a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
because everybody wants to make sensational headlines. Just to
Yeah.
make
Exactly.
yeah.
You
So
know.
I'll write it out. He hasn't lost me yet.
Yeah. I mean, what I like about him, one thing good about him is that he really has, or maybe it's the facade that he's putting on. I don't know. He's a politician. We don't know. We can't it's hard to trust politicians, but he comes off as somebody with a good heart, you know. But there's a lot of elements to him that.
It's the smile and the hair. Let's be honest, okay?
But kind of without that, you don't get the initial attention, you know. And so I kind of get it, and it's really the way we pick our leaders.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of have to have that Superman quality. I don't know why we picked Trump, but you know, this is our first villain president.
Yeah.
We're going to see how the villain works out in this country.
Yeah. We've watched movies about it for years. Let's see how it really matters.
Yeah, let's see how this plays out. And we'll be getting zombies pretty soon. So
what was your name?
My name is Monifa.
Monifa. All right, Darrell. What's that mean?
That's why I married her, buddy.
What's that? What's Monifa mean, man? Come on, let's hear it.
Her name is Monifa Asha. So her name means lucky love.
Oh,
Asha.
wow.
Oh, wow.
My first name is Luck. The second name's Love. Middle name's Love. Yeah. So that's
there's
what
lots of ashes in Somalia.
Yeah.
Somalis have lots of
My mom's
ashes.
name's Asha.
Yeah, my mother-in-law.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and Ilyas's best friend from his middle school, her name was Monifa, and her mother's name was Sarah.
Really?
Starting to see a lot of Monifas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Neat.
So I think that's like, I think that also is like Rashida. Maybe it has like an Arabic origin, Monifa.
It does.
The book that I found it in, my father got an African name book, but the book I found it in, it was out of Niger. And I've heard a couple things since then, you know, even in translation. Okay. But the original, you know, when I first looked it up, those were the translations I got.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so nice to meet
you. Where
you.
are you guys located? You're not in Toronto? Where are you located now?
Minnesota.
Oh God, you're at ground zero.
Yeah. No, ain't no joke. Yeah, I work at Mayo Clinic.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so not quite ground zero, but 45 minutes away. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying from the perspective of Minnesota, this whole situation.
Yes.
I mean, it's not the first time, and that's why I can see why you're so afraid for your son.
Yes.
I understand now. Now I get it. That's
That really hit him hard. It really, really damaged him. That really hit him hard. Yeah.
But Rashida's done an amazing job just guiding him and guiding me how to handle things in it, and
be careful of the power you let go there, Dustin. It doesn't get given back, my friend. I've had to work hard to get back a little bit of my manhood from this.
You're not letting go of any power.
Started out differently though, but yeah, I mean, it's important. But you know, I think as first generation, I was first generation. My mom from Jamaica, my dad's from Guyana, and so but you do have a very unique perspective for the kids, because you see not just what's at play in the country, which if you've been here long enough, you can be very empathetic to, but what the clouding is, like what we've been told that's not true in this country as well. And so it's good to have both of those perspectives, because you can't believe everything that's said and that has been trained into generations, and it's not so different. Caribbean did have slavery. The Caribbean but the difference was that they gained independence more quickly, because there was less foreigners there, and then also that they didn't back down from the challenge of making their own solution. I think is also, and I don't think they did in America, it's more quashed in America, with what happened and the different areas that had started to come up. A lot of the Black Wall Streets and all the places where things were changing, you know, they're systematically oppressed. It's not just, this isn't a perception issue. This is a system issue, you know? So yeah, so I think it's a lot to get done, but it's nice to have met such amazingly intelligent people to
wow.
No,
continue to do this work with.
It's been amazing, and we got to do it again.
Definitely.
Yes.
As the
We
book
have to.
as the book progresses, let's keep checking in and keep having the conversation, and who knows, maybe one day we'll make it out to California and
Yeah.
we can use
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Some heat, right?
My
Nothing
parents
wrong
live
with
in
this.
San Jose, so yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty close to San Jose. We're not
Yeah,
far
we're
from San Jose.
almost due east from San Jose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's Elios thinking about school?
UMR for now. Or Winona.
That's what you're thinking. What's he thinking?
Pre-med, UMR. That's what That's what's gonna happen.
Well, and so far verbally he wants to stay here without mom's involvement. Actually, mom tried to put the foot on the backside. Believe it or not, Harvard, Yale, like those. But Ilya said, nope, I'm staying right here. I've got my video game set up in the basement.
There's always Stanford now.
His uncle, my brother-in-law, really has been looking in Stanford. Ilya's currently, I don't know if you saw the video.
Was it
but
on
he's been
Davis? They're really good technology.
Oh yeah, you're talking UC Davis as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's currently going to college though. He's a junior in high school, but he's doing the PSEO program, so he attends the junior college here. So he'll graduate high school with an associate degree. So
that's the program my son's principal of in Carolina.
Oh, awesome!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they actually run it through the Montessori program. North Carolina started a Montessori program like in 2005.
Wow!
Right, with like grade school. He's like the principal of like that first group of kids coming through at high school level. He's actually the principal inside of a university with those kids who leave with an associate.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, it's such a good thing. I mean, it's put him ahead, and it's making use of his time.
And it made him kind of confident, really. He's so more confident now. He thinks that he can do a lot and achieve anything he wants, and
that's the best feeling.
Yeah. You want to be ahead that way. You feel that way for a long time.
You want to feel that way first, because the opposite. I mean, it's hard to not feel great about yourself and what you can do, and then great things happen. It typically doesn't work that way.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah,
that is so true.
Especially from a kid who has, remember, as a child, our imaginations are exploding.
Yeah.
Remember when you were his age? I mean, there wasn't anything that you didn't think about that became the grandest and the best in the world.
Yeah.
But if you think about what you thought
of course. I mean, I was going to be an NBA All-Star.
Yeah, look, I'm already in the Hall of Fame.
I'm 9 in the 8th grade, and I towered over everything. That stopped though.
That's right. So I mean, but at some point we lost that. We lost it, and someone said, "Yeah, you're not going to do that." So we got to keep our kids' dreams alive, because they're really reality.
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
that's the only reality that can. Our dreams can be our only reality, but there's so much, and it comes from inside our home. We got to fix our families, man.
Yeah.
That is
It's number one.
That is so true, and that's modeling it. I think, like you said before, is so important, and I just have to work on her. She supports me, thinks I'm brilliant, like helps me, achieve I'm working on my master's, all these things. But then when she talks about herself, that's where we got to move forward there.
That's the other thing about our women too, is that they will sacrifice their dreams for everyone else, and that is so not fair.
No,
Because
that's not right.
it's not. It's really not, because we no longer live in the society where your dreams can't not come true. You have the ability to have your dreams come true now.
Yeah.
You don't, you know, it's crazy, because these are still the remnants of slavery.
Yeah.
That's still the mental construct of that. And as crazy as it sounds, those are the shackles that need to be broken. Those are the shackles. It's not somebody standing at some building talking about it. It has nothing to do with that. Because
it's the mirror. It's running from the mirror, like you said.
That's it, man. That's really what it is. That, and you know, I'm glad you said that, bro, because that's why I do it.
That's a Pisces thing too, though.
What's that?
And because he was the same way up until what, a year and a half ago?
About what?
About not honoring your own gifts, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's also because you're so service oriented. As long as the whole's doing well, then you're fine.
Yes, I am so service oriented to the extent that I even, you know, have a degree in counseling and psychology and social work. And I realized just a couple of years ago that I'm really nowhere in the picture that I'm working on. It's everybody else. And I'm the oldest, so take care of this, take care of that. Who's taking care of me? Nobody. I'm not taking care of me. Nobody is taking care of me, because as Darrell said, I projected that image of, I don't need anybody. I'm going to take care of you guys. There's nobody to take care of me. And I am.
You remind me of her
Saved
mom.
me from that. Yeah. Because it's very similar to my mom. Yeah.
Yeah, her mom was the same way. And her very similar story, left Jamaica,
is the same way.
moved away to England to become a nurse, and felt guilty the whole time, you know. You know,
because she left her little sister, and then, you know.
Mom just had twins.
Yeah, but if she had stayed, then she would have just been raising the twins. She didn't want her to go to school, so her friend helped her
escape, because that's basically what happened.
So this is almost the exact story, you know. You know, and then she got here, and the war broke out, and she had nothing, no one. She was going to school.
And I was 16, and then I had.
And America said, "You can't pay for it. You're going back." You know, this was before they knew how bad the Somali war was going to be.
Yeah.
Right. So you didn't come as part of the Somali refugees then?
Yeah, but I went to Canada. Americans refused me, and I was young too. I was with nobody, so they said, "We're not going to accept Somalis now." Canada recognized Somali immigration.
Which is that, and that's one of the things that I really admire about Canada, is that they do have a very strong refugee system.
Very strong.
It's beautiful.
And they found it early on, because you were here right at the beginning.
Yeah, and then I had to go to Canada.
Yeah.
You know what? I met the Somalis that were in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah,
which was the first American state to let them in.
Oh,
the
wow.
churches. They brought in like almost 10,000 churches in Ohio, and that was about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
15 years ago.
The also Lutheran, I think, church in Minnesota.
That's what it was.
A lot of them. A lot of them. And that's
outside of Mogadishu, we have the largest population.
Awesome. Visiting, maybe I don't know if you go back and visit Jamaica. I was talking to a Jamaican lady who was my neighbor. She got a little bit sick, and then she went to Jamaica, and she came back like looking 10 years younger and beautiful and so healthy. And she stayed there for 3 months or maybe 6 months. I'm not really sure. And I'm like, Sharon, you look so beautiful. What have you done? Did you have any Botox done? She's like, no, man. I went to and I had alkaline diet, and I went to the countryside, and everything is so organic and natural. And she was telling me about all these plants and all these herbs that she used. So visiting, if you have any family, I don't know if you have anybody left there, would really do you good. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, we have some uncles and an aunt and friends. Our grandfather's house is still there, but we fixed it up and there's an Airbnb now. So it's
So you guys are, I guess, in the city, because she is from, I guess, a countryside, and stayed with her, I guess, brother who's a farmer, and he has a huge farm, and you could not imagine the difference in her, the way she looked, how much her skin was glowing. So like, can I come with you next time?
Granted, remember.
You should, because most of them, I mean, that's why
Toronto. She was in California. They have, look at their glow.
They're glowing.
Not pale and nasty like me.
The food is completely different. It just is. We used to eat off the trees in our yard when we used to go in the summers. And in Montego Bay is where it is, but yeah, on the hill. So going towards the mountain range. And so, yeah, but you know, my grandfather, you don't know, but my grandfather was also took care of bees. He was a beekeeper. He did honey for the neighborhood and the stores in the neighborhood. And so, like, yeah, you just eat off the land. A lot of the people, they're always worried about the homeless people in Jamaica. They're like, you eat everywhere. There's food everywhere.
Nobody's That's
going
the great
hungry.
thing about California is you can walk down the street, pick a lemon, pick a lime, pick a grapefruit.
And even the proteins are on the tree, right? So mango, ackee, all that's on the tree. You don't need it. Bananas, cotton.
In Jamaica, right?
Yeah, in Jamaica.
Yes, and also coconuts and bananas, papayas, everything. Yeah, she's like
all of it. Yeah. I miss it. I haven't been there in a long time. It's been a long time now.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah.
Well, it's gonna be a good vacation, I guess.
It'll be beautiful.
You know, in California, there's a lot of Hollywoodish stuff where they say, "Oh, this is," but it's so messed with.
That's really not California.
Yeah, you're talking about the coast, though. Yeah, like in the valley, it's just neighborhoods. It's just
farms,
family and neighborhoods, and like the only weird thing is that the farms are right next to everything.
Right, so you can be right next to
right next to a
vineyard.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and then it's like, and then there's like acres of almond trees, and then there's like
pistachios.
Yeah,
that's the kind of thing that a lot of people don't know.
No.
We only know the pollution in LA and
the stars, the walk of stars.
I mean, yeah.
That's all I knew before
you got here. That's what you think you know.
And I grew up in Florida, and it was like, and I grew up in a farm town, and so I thought, Florida farms were everything because we came from Florida. And then here, it's like the farms are like 10 times the size of the farms.
You can go miles.
Wow.
Run out of grove.
Yeah, and it's most of the state, and that's what's you don't see.
You don't see it. There's 4 major cities in California: San Francisco, San Jose, LA, San Diego, which is way bigger than Sacramento. Is a country town.
Right.
You ever watch any of the Sacramento Kings games?
Oh yeah.
You remember what their symbol was?
Their symbol.
The Arco Arena, you mean? Or
you remember what the fans used to have? Right. At the Kings games?
I don't, man. I should know.
No, because it's so obscure. You're like, why in the hell do they have cowbells?
Did they have cowbells?
Yep. You won't know they have cowbells till you get here. And you're like, because it smells like cow. It's country. You would be shocked.
My friend grew up there, and that's all she says is like, "Oh, it's so country. It's backward. It's all this."
It's so.
And I'm just like,
country.
Sacramento.
Yes.
Oh, not the idea that I have.
You got rice fields running up the highway.
And that's the capital. Sacramento's the capital, right?
Yeah.
It is.
So, I mean, people get the wrong idea of California. If you're not in one of those major cities, you're pretty much in the country.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why it's the only place they talk about. And then they talk about the other cities like they're bad, but it's like, no, it's just not. It's not, tall buildings and 1,000.
We're actually within an hour and a half of 2 national forests.
Wow. Wow.
Yosemite is an hour away. And what is the other one? Franklin National Park.
Yeah.
Franklin National Park.
Yeah.
I know when I was a
and
kid.
what's also close, you can always see a mountain range.
Right.
So we're right in the
You
middle.
see mountains wherever
So
you go. Yeah.
depending on what direction to go is which one you're looking at, but you can always see a mountain.
I grew up to in Washington State, and about
See, that's
every 3 summers we'd drive down to Disneyland. And so I remember though
Yeah,
that,
you came down to 5.
yes,
So you got all of that good route.